Alrighty, here we go. Finally, another episode of Kappa Council. Episode 6 this is, and with me today is a bunch of misfits. We got Scorch13, Shadee, Cappuccino, and DeathDozer. Now, I expect everyone to know who I am, because I'm clearly the most famous guy on here. Scorch13 and Cappuccino, they're both kind of semi-famous, I guess. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Shadee is not so much a new guy anymore, and DeathDozer is. Are you guys together or dating? Like, what's the status?
We are roommates, and I share a room with a female, so we're doing okay.
Wait, so 2 guys and a female in one?
It's like a How I Met Your Mother situation. Like, people just kind of in and out. We live together, date each other. People leave. Like, it's all good. It's all good.
For some reason, I thought about, like, I don't know if I'm the old guy here, but there was a show called Two Guys and a Girl and a Pizza Place. It had many names. It's also called Two Guys and a Pizzeria, but in Europe it was called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. And yeah, you guys can figure the rest out. It's actually, what's his name? Big famous actor now, who was in that. It was like a sitcom type of thing. Ryan Reynolds, girlfriend behind the curtain, goes like, Ryan Reynolds. She knows him. Ryan Reynolds, can't even say it. He was starring in that one. It was before he blew up and became super famous, and everybody go like, oh my god, I want to marry him. So yeah, right. Super Faeria topic though. So yeah. Welcome everybody. So I guess we'll start in the bottom right corner. DeathDozer, tell everybody who you are.
I am DeathDozer. I'm the new guy to Kappa Council, I guess, and I'm voted into the Faeria monthly this month. So first monthly for me. So hopefully it goes well. Trying to do a lot of practice. That's about it.
Yeah, you got voted in.
Yeah, I did get voted in.
Soon to be famous DeathDozer then.
Soon.
Yes.
Soon to be famous.
Oh, I forgot to set it up, but we're actually gonna reveal real soon the brackets. And I know who you're facing in your first game.
Oh god.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I was like, holy shit, he has no chance. Like, anyway. Yeah, Shadee, you can quickly say who you are, where are you from, stuff like that.
I am Shadee, no longer Shadee new guy. An A player, which means I'm the bottom of every bracket. And not in the monthly cup, because apparently one of us is good at the game, and the other one gets voted in. So I don't know. I mean,
ouch.
How did you get voted in, Dozer? Did you stream and such, and just go like, please, or
just streaming, and begging for votes, getting on my hands and knees, praising the Papaya Lord, all those things.
All right.
I pushed them on my stream too.
Because you played in the qualifier, and didn't you get close? What was that?
The first one, maybe. I mean, it depends on what you call close. It was like 6 rounds.
Okay.
Losers bracket.
All right. Well, Cappuccino, who are you? Where are you from? Nobody knows you.
Yeah, so I used to stream a bit more frequently. Now, not so much. But yeah, I stream over on twitch.tv. It's Cappuccino. And I've won a monthly, gotten third, and then lost in the first round in a bunch of them. And nowadays, I just cast, so you can catch me casting tournaments.
Nice. And Scorch.
Of course. Yeah, I've been kind of out of it for a while. This is the first season that I didn't get at least the Pandora card back, just because, well, an accountant for those who don't know, so it's tax season, end of tax season now, so pretty stressed out with work. But back to it now, hopefully either this week, next week type of thing, but at least on the monthly Cupcast again this weekend. So
Yeah, I mean, we do have two of the... I don't know, from what I know, I think it's going to be 3 casters, right? I'm not counting Atmos if he steps in, but... right? So
Yep.
two of the monthly Cupcasters are on here for those watching who might not know, and that's Scores 13 and Cappuccino, who's... well, you guys been casting... I mean, Score's been casting forever.
yeah, I think like even the early access ones, I missed like 2 or maybe 3 of them just off the top of my head. But yeah, it's something that I really enjoy doing. So I've been trying to make sure that I have that day off every single time for it.
Which is good for us, because you're really good at it too. So, and same goes for Cappuccino.
I always get like a
Yeah.
bunch of messages after, like just direct messages in Discord, especially the first one after. I guess it was the Battle of the Gods, not a monthly cup, but a bunch of people like messaged me right away, like, "Oh my god, like such a good cast! Like I'm glad that we have somebody who's like that good at explaining everything throughout the course of the game." So it just kind of, reinforces the drive to continue doing it.
Yeah, you're really good at the analytics and yeah, I'm very bad at explaining it, but I think you're very good caster. But that also comes across when you're streaming. For those of you who doesn't know, he usually streams on Metagamingtv here, but yeah, like you said, he's been busy. So probably you catch him soon again. But yeah, it comes across when you stream a lot in the way that you explain all the stuff that happens.
Everything.
Heck, I think you could even cast the weather pretty nicely. And so does Cappuccino. I think you both became a very good duo last monthly from the little parts that I was catching in the VODs. Who was the third guy?
Zologrim is the third.
Sologrim. All right, so he's a new guy though.
Yep, and he'll be back on with us this Saturday for this monthly as well. Not sure if anybody else is being added in, or if there's going to be kind of some testing out of other people. But kind of from what I've seen, just from messages from Aquablad, it'll be the 3 of us again, and of course Aquablad running the production stuff.
Did he do any casting?
No,
I don't
not
think so. No, it was just the 3 of us cycling in and out.
All right.
Yeah, the only additional person we had cast is, it's sort of tradition, I think,
Yeah.
for Atmas to cast the 3rd place match.
Yep.
So Atmas casts that, and other than that, it was just the 3 of us.
When things calm down in the administration of the cup, Atmos gets to cast a 3rd match. It's definitely maybe like once or twice he hasn't done that, but it's definitely been a thing. So, definitely. Alrighty then. Where do we start? We're talking about the monthly. So how about we look at the bracket, which I need to go find the link for in a PM from Atmos. Talking about Atmos. Let's see here. Here's that. Show original. How do I do this the easiest? I probably just save the image some bloody where. And we just pull it in, I guess. Just save it here. Kappa Council Season 3. I'll save it here. Oh, there's already... Oh, yes, that's the last one we looked at then. Let's see. This is, yeah, alright. Replace it. Show in folder. And this is going to look pretty ugly on screen, I think. Or do I dare use the editor? I don't dare use the editor. We'll make it look... Actually, I could do... Oh, fuck it. I'm using the preview editor. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, so they're calling this a Faeria Monthly Cup X. So they're like doing the Super Bowl now. They're going with Roman letters, right? So it's the 10th Monthly Cup. Has there actually been 10? Is that how many it's been?
Yup.
Oh, it's pretty crazy. Holy shit. Remove. Alright, and I'll just save this. Apply scene changes. Good. Close. XSplit didn't crash. Things are good. Oh yeah, you guys might want to look at it, right?
Well, I already have it, but
oh,
I get the early privileges, of course.
There we go. No, don't spoil anything. I'm about to show it on stream. Don't spoil anything. Where's?
I'm just reorganizing my spreadsheet, so I asked Atmaz for it.
There we go. So what we can see is here in top right corner, Lou90 is facing off against DeathDozer.
Oh. Help me. I need my inhaler. This isn't good.
Shadee, quickly. Mouth to mouth.
Dude, he's gonna pick up that $100 bounty first round.
Oh yeah,
What
go.
luck
$100
for
right
you,
first
dude.
round.
Too bad they nerfed the bounty though, eh? Like you would have made 150
no.
otherwise.
It's just free money at this point. I mean, who's Lou really? I've never heard that name before.
Lou is in the viewer list.
Oh wait.
He's using a happy waving face. He's probably very happy about fuck the trash talk.
Ooh.
Alright, do you have any comment, DeathDozer? Like here's your chance. You know, like think MMA now, right? Like you definitely want to.
This is something I could. What is it? What does Conor McGregor say all the time?
Right. You're the one facing Conor McGregor, I think.
Oh shit. Okay, well, you're a trash talking loser who's going to lose. You're washed up. You're gonna lose your fight. I'm gonna make that money. I'll be in your dreams.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We need to do this more often. Actually, this is great. We should have this
people
before.
on just to trash talk each other.
Where's Aquablood when you
Look,
need like
look
this?
me in the eyes, Lou. Look me in the... You're going down.
we need this before every round on the monthly cup to be like have them on camera, be like, all right, you guys are facing off, touch gloves, say some nice words to each other, like I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. That would be great. I love that. Oh, that is so epic. No, but how do you like? Do you like? I mean, how do you go into a game like that? Do you think it's gonna? I mean, yeah.
It's definitely not going to be easy. Lou is definitely a really good player. He's, I mean, one of the best I know. He's the first person I heard of. So this is going to be a tough match. I'm going to have to play. I'm going to have to read all my lines. It's just going to have to be perfect. One misstep and it's just a lost game for me.
Have you already figured out the decks you're bringing?
I have not yet. I got a lot to think about.
Yeah, I mean, you have a week, basically.
Maybe some yellow Shaitan monstrosity. We'll do some chant wishes.
For the memes.
We'll bring a yellow rush and it's still got Doomsday.
I hear 3 wishes is great.
I've been trying to make it work actually. I'm trying to think of a 3 wishes deck I could actually bring, but
that would be crazy. That would be crazy.
It's so hard.
In the other corner, we don't have anyone on here else who's gonna play, but Arianelli's facing Lyrico. Yeah, okay, so I actually did get a word from Atmos when he sent me the picture, which was that it may look like it was planned that the voted are facing the first and second from last monthly, but it's all by chance. There's some randomness to that. I think he didn't give me the instruction of how it happened, but it's by chance. It just so happens to be that this is how it ended up being this time.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate, I guess, for the voted in people, but I mean, looking at the bracket, I don't see any death corners. It actually looks really well spread out to me. The only unfortunate thing, I guess, is like Trek and Imperia, who are on the same team, face off in round 1. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it actually looks really well spread out.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's not like last month that we had just one corner where we thought like anybody could have won it.
Mm. I mean, I like to echo what we say so many times, which is that all of the 32 players on here are really good. Even so, the voted in guys are pretty good actually. Lyrico been playing for a while, and he streams, so I think that's also how he's been getting the votes. And okay, I'm gonna say I don't know if DeathDozer is good. He's on the council right now. I'm gonna say I assume he is. No, but even so, like if you've been playing the game, anyone has a chance. Because you know you can have a good day, your opponent can have a bad day. Obviously, going up against Lou, you know he has less bad days, you know, than others. Being a very consistent player, which I just think makes it so that if you go up against a player that is well known and very consistent, high level player, it will probably just make you have to make less mistakes and play so much better. But I think everyone has a chance. You know, it's still gonna be, you're still gonna have to draw those cards and maybe mulligan. and hope to get the right answers right. So
I don't know. DeathDozer's name, it sounds like he's going to be taking down Lou. I mean, Lou's already halfway to lose, right?
Uh-huh. There we go.
DeathDozer or lose.
The advantage is that the top 4 always come in like they're already qualified. They're not playing really that much that month. They're not as experienced. They're not on top of their game.
you're saying
unlike the
you're
people
saying
who
they
went
get
through the qualified,
comfortable. They
like-
get too comfortable.
Yeah, that's the way it ends up happening. Is the top 4, they relax a little bit. They're auto qualified. These guys that go through the qualifiers, they're in Faeria day after day. They're practicing. They're getting ready for it. So you gotta take them down.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
thing.
I want to speak on that point. One of the monthlies I was invited to, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to play ladder for like 2 to 3
Yeah.
weeks. And so I actually just didn't play any games for like 3 weeks and just came back in, got knocked out round 1 after being invited to the monthly. And I was like, wow, I probably should have practiced.
And then you're like, casting makes me sit on the monthly every month. Much better deal. That's so good. Yeah. So, God, you were saying something. I was gonna say that if I was invited or even in the monthly somehow managed to get there, I guess now that I'm not part of the production or streaming it, I would have the time, because the joke earlier in the before release was that oh no, I can't be in the monthly because nobody would be streaming it. But you know, I would probably be. You could go and be like, oh man, facing the previous top 2 players would suck in round 1, and the only reason is if you really are so much after the Dragon Orb, because everyone who wins round 1 gets a Dragon Orb, right? Or they gets a code for one. So there's a few people who's done this a few times, and they have a few orbs. Yeah.
Should say in there, anyone who wins a series,
Yeah,
not
wins
just
a
wins
series.
round 1. Because if you advance through round 1 from just like your opponent didn't show, you don't win a Dragon Orb for that. You have to win your series.
Yeah, that's true. But what I was gonna say is
Yeah.
that I would just be happy, I think, to go up against a Lou or Arianel here, just for the sake of the bounty. Actually, I would be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm in my first game already. I have a chance to win some money. That would be awesome. Because at least I wouldn't go into I would never go into a monthly cup and be like, yeah, I have a good chance to getting to the finish. I would be like, every game would feel like a World Cup final to me, I think. So I would. I would just be happier to have a chance at money in the first game, actually. And if I win that series, I would be like, holy shit, I already got money. Like, things feels better.
Oh, now you just cruise through, yeah.
Right, you just cruise. But you know what I mean.
All the
right?
stress is off.
It would feel better. It would feel less stressful if I actually took a bounty off the first game. It would feel like I already won, right? So that's how I'm looking at it. As well. So I'm not gonna read through all this. I just know that Noah Fiel, who's probably asleep, was really curious, and he's up against Ibronde.
It's gonna be a tough one for him.
Yeah.
For Noah,
Yeah, LeBron
he
plays in a lot of tournaments. He has
Yeah.
a lot of tournament
He is.
experience.
I think he's been in like every single monthly almost.
Hold on.
His Noah got voted in last month though, and I think he said this month he didn't want to get voted again, right? So he actually
Yeah.
went in and earned it this time.
Yeah, he did it through a qualifier because he had a curse where he would. What was the curse? Do you remember, Scorch? Or
Oh yeah,
Drop
it was
out
like
last round.
he would get to the last round losers bracket, like qualification match, and lose that. It was like 6 times in a row or something.
Yeah, he
But
had,
this
he had
time-
the
this
exact
time
same record.
Crushed it.
Yeah,
3 2-0s, 2 2-1s, and took out Swap Blues, 2-1 in that one. Took out Fideo, however you say that, 2-1, and then Chief Bromden 2-0, which is like no slouch of players there to take out in the qualifier.
So, if you guys had to pick someone that you think could win this monthly cup, who would you pick?
Well, DeathDozer, obviously. Come on.
I
haven't been paid to say DeathDozer, so I'm not saying DeathDozer.
I think my favorite would be, if Sweetie practices, my favorite would be Sweetie, and then next up would be like Monnik.
I know Modnik is very popular.
Yeah. Monik and Sweetie are always like really top choices. They're proven monthly cup talents. My kind of dark horse for this is actually Loktar up in the top corner there. Seems to be a pretty new player. He went through in like the first qualifier in March. Took out LeBron, took out Sweetie 2-1 to qualify there. Unfortunately, lost to Trek 2-3, but that looks like it's probably a close enough series. Maybe could have done better in the monthly cup. But then this time, again, went through, hasn't dropped a set yet in the 2 qualifiers that he's played in. Again, this one took out Mayhem, took out Aya 73, so some big name players. Again, it's qualifiers, but somebody that I think is kind of right on the cusp of being a dark horse for the monthly cup.
I think Lou 90's gonna take it. Just personally, I think he's got a really easy line in front of him. So.
Luhu, right? Luhu.
Just based off names that I know here, I will say that Lou has a, like, depending on if, like, it's all down to whether DeathDozer surprises us. But if Lou defeats DeathDozer, I think the next match looks good for him. It's gonna be a lot harder though in the what is that? The quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a lot harder for him. I think from just looking at what he could potentially face. And I'm again just basing off names I know. There's always, you know, some people here that are new to me. Either Llama, I think I defeated with my Blue Dwan before the season ended, so he sucks.
Oh.
That should be me. No, I've been on a loss streak since the season reset. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I can't win anything. Went to Pandora, kept losing. Like, man. Played HOTS, lost there too. So, I don't know. It feels like, so on the right side is the second place, right? Lou came second last monthly, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he definitely can get top 4 again this month. Like, he said himself in Twitch chat that he was out of shape, but I don't know. And maybe it is because, you know, again, being a bit more relaxed going into the next monthly cup when you are already, like, you know you're going to play in it, so you don't push as much on the ladder. You don't grind for that top 10 spot, which I think gives you so much momentum and experience going into a monthly cup that I think that's really important. And, you know, if I was such an amazing player as some of these top players here, and I was able to get, you know, secure like this and get into the next monthly, I think I would still, as a goal, push myself to try and take a top 10 spot just to call that practice, right? I think that would be that. I think that's a really it's a really smart thing to do. Now, whether people do that or not, I don't know, but I think people relax a bit too much.
I think that Lou saying that he's rusty is
Is him being polite?
I don't know how much stock there is in that, honestly. With a player like that who's just been around for so long, and he has a team, which I think adds a lot to just being on almost like the back end of things, just kind of knowing how people are preparing, having other people to help you prepare, having people on the same level as you to have that back and forth to talk about it. I think even if your mechanical skills and like your memory you need to warm up a bit, I guess, the week beforehand or whatever. I think there's still so much there that helps them out.
Yeah, it definitely has. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say kind of another thing of it. We've seen people kind of in that spot in the past say, well, I haven't even touched the game in a couple weeks because they don't have to prepare at all. But Lou is the type of player who's like, he's streaming. He's maybe not preparing in a competitive sense, but he's in the game. He's playing maybe some of these more fun decks. He's been playing the Yak Party, which is just a ridiculous deck when you can get it to work. But he's still in playing the game, and you keep up to date with even just what your opponent is playing, and you see those decks, you see what the meta is like. So that is a different type of situation than some of the players who come into the monthly cup with not even having touched the game in a couple weeks.
Yeah, he streams.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, on top of him being in a team, like his team is actually like literally the top-notch players. Like he's got Modnick, who's won many monthly cups now. Teddy, who is actually number 1 and number 2 on ladder, plays a lot, so can give feedback on what people are playing. And then, you know, you have teammates like Heavy, who's exceptional at the game as well, and King Dance, who I think has been a little bit back and forth with playing. I think he played in one of the tournaments, but won't be in the monthly. But yeah, very, very strong teammates is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting monthly.
I think that's definitely where he has an advantage over me. Like right now, being being a new player, like this was only my second month of play. He's like him having players of equal skill level, and especially at a skill level like his, that's definitely going to be a big thing that helps him out, even
What?
if he is rusty.
What god rank are you, DeathDozer?
Not any right now.
Oh, son. All right.
So
You should stop practicing against the AI. It's not as good as the.
Other than yourself to win, who do you think will be second place? I guess. Who's your favorite to get
He's
second
like
place?
Lou.
No. Honestly, I really like Noah as a player, and I think Trash Talk wins games, and I hear he's the biggest Trash Talk player. So like, so like, if he trashes his way into like a win, I can totally see that happening. He's like the Conor McGregor of Faeria right now. He's just gonna trash talk his opponent until he just gives up and surrenders. He's honestly, I like his play. Like he plays red so perfectly. Like I just played him in ladder yesterday, and we had the mirror match, and it was a complete. We drew the same things. He just played better lines, and he blew me out of the water. And it's just, I mean, sure he beat me like some nobody, but like I like his play. I like his opponents. Elbrand is a strong opponent. He's been here for a while, but I think that he can definitely take it.
Yeah.
All right. What do you guys think about the regions? It used to be like everyone was European, but we actually what is it? 2 Americans now. We see 3 Canadians, which I'm amazed by.
We got a good spread for the Canadians finally. Usually it ends up that we have like 2 of them. Like if Cappuccino's there, or we get like Palor and I win again.
So much bias.
And now Hunter in, but we actually have them spread this time. We have 1 in 3 different quadrants. I'm in my head playing out the way the bracket could go, and I'm hoping that this month doesn't end up with I win again and his back-to-back 4th place appearance, and he just leaves the game entirely.
Wait, who did you say? Who?
I win again, because he ended up 4th place last month and just absolutely like tilted off the face of the earth, and went out and got hammered. Couldn't play in King of the Hill the next day.
I know.
Yeah.
But like he's in that bottom left quadrant, which, knowing his level of play and being a previous top finisher, I think is a high enough level player that he could actually win that corner of the bracket. And then you look at, okay, is he going to get up against Sweetie Mayhem from the top corner? That puts him maybe in the 3rd place match. Coming from the other side, maybe somebody that can actually take him out, and you just end up with. I hope that it doesn't end up with that for him.
Yeah.
Because I know like just how hard he took it last time, so.
And the French community keeps throwing players at the monthly. It's like always 50% French people. They're like the Surg, and they're like, well, if we throw enough at it, maybe one will stick in the top. I think didn't we have like a top 4 once being like 3 French players actually. It was something like that. I also remember getting a lot of hate when I did I think it was a what do you call it, like a preview? I did like an article in before a monthly cup, and I just mentioned a lot of things that I thought was interesting, and I forgot about Sweetie winning a monthly cup. Even I think it was last summer. So in my text I wrote something like, well, the French always have a lot of people in it, but there's still it's. And I did say it's a matter of when they were going to win the monthly rather than if, right? Like, because eventually it's gonna happen. Because I forgot that Sweetie had won one. I got so much hate from the French community. They're like, hating on the French. Like, yeah, but. Yeah, I quickly edited my article. I think I was like, forgot about Sweetie.
The secret's out now, Scream. We all know.
Yeah, well, the whole community knew back then. It was on Discord pretty quickly when the article was posted. It's like, doesn't he know about Sweetie being French? That was the thing. I knew about Sweetie. I didn't know he was French. That was the reason I made the mistake. But yeah, the French community is huge in Faeria. which I think is cool. I just find all this interesting. I like the fact that they have the flags and the countries. I've said this before. It feels like it's a World Cup or an Olympic game every month. It's just fun. It doesn't mean much. It doesn't matter. I don't really go like, oh god damn it, like a German one. No, I don't hate or anything against any country. I just find it interesting. You know, and I'm happy Ibronde is what is it called? Like showing the Swedish flag. I think he's the only Swedish player I've seen on the monthly. But yeah, we got one representing. Yeah, right. He's representing. I'm just waiting for him to win. God damn it, get better.
So with these teams, that actually brings up another point I was gonna sidetrack to a little bit earlier. Just talking about the flags like that and how people are sort of associated, you know, representing their nationalities and things. Is there ever a plan or any talk or anything about bringing teams into this, having people being able to have some sort of tag or something to represent who they're
you mean
going
in
to the
the
cup
game,
for?
like
that'd be pretty cool.
I think it was like something in the Kickstarter. So that is in 2013. Like on the Kickstarter, I think there was like maybe even a stretch goal. I might be mixing this up with something where maybe they were planning to add something, but I don't think is there any card game or game like this that has like, you know, these type of where you can create a clan and have a prefix and things?
Even though like it's interesting to know what players in what team and stuff, I think that type of concept is sort of discouraged though, because you don't want the knowledge of two teammates going head to head in round one. Like seeing the banner of Trek versus Imperia, like seeing them both with the same team banner would kind of suck, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Whereas like outside viewers that maybe don't know that they're in the same team,
you mean on the graphics?
Get a bit more excited.
You meant
I
on the
assume-
graphics, like just like
I assume that's what you were talking
showcase
about.
the teams.
Yeah, either way, in-game or on the graphics.
Oh,
I was
okay.
speaking more towards the monthly cup, but
Oh, okay.
in-game would be an interesting team experience. But yeah, if they had the flag and like the team they were representing. But I think Capu's right. Like it is a weird, which is why I even brought it up. Because when I even found out, I had no idea people were even on teams, and then I started getting more involved with the competitive community. Yeah, and I started finding out like, oh, these guys work together, these guys plan together for cups and stuff like that, and I was like, that's really cool. Like, that's awesome, but nobody really talks about it. It's not really a big thing, you know?
Well, here's the thing. It's not because we're always looking at Faeria from a card game perspective when we'll talk about how, like, some aspects like this, how the game plays and the communities and stuff like that, right? And it is a solo game, right? Just like Magic the Gathering is a 1 versus 1. I know there's, you know, other modes in the digital version and stuff like that. I'm not sure if whatever. But we're talking in the pro scene, the competitive scene, right? So it's 1 versus 1, and yeah, even in traditional Magic the Gathering, you will have groups of people who go to the same place, who practice together, who share experiences. They, you know, you might not officially be like, we're on team, you know, A, and we're on team B. Like, you might not officially be like, we're on the same, right? But and it's kind of, I think it's kind of the same in a lot of these. Like, you'll have people in gaming communities or, you know, people who just group up together because it's obviously smart. Like, it's good. It's good to have good practice partners. It's good to, you know, do that and elevate each other's knowledge and strategies and all that stuff. So it's just that, you know, with the internet and digital stuff, you will have a lot more people going, you know, oh, we're on a team, let's call ourselves something, stuff like that, right? But yeah, you rarely hear about, you know, oh, I'm sponsored by this and that, or our team is, you know, in Hearthstone, we obviously probably have, like, you know, Dignitas and stuff like that, but yeah, no, it's just always gonna be there, whether it's, you know, officially advertised or not. You're always gonna have some short form of groups teaming up and doing things together. Yeah, that was that.
Yeah.
That's fine. It was just a little sidetrack there.
A couple times me and Shade have actually watched we've watched like the finals, like Magic tournaments and stuff, and they do have like the esports shirts with like the advertisements and all that, and they have their team and stuff. So it's not necessarily like a new thing or whatever. But yeah, Magic.
Oh no, it's not a new thing at all. Right, exactly. Like, yeah, okay. I haven't watched Magic in like forever, but I'm just comparing to the fact that it's a 1v1 sport, and you don't go out like team.
Yeah,
in the same way.
It's not definitely advertised like that. No.
Yeah.
Do you know if in Magic they have prize splitting? Because just to speak about this quickly, in Faeria currently prize splitting is prohibited. So I'm
This
I'm
was
curious,
a topic
does Magic have it?
What
way
do you
back.
mean by prize splitting? I'm sorry.
So
As in,
yeah.
a team will just agree to split the prize money going into the tournament, and then the staff of the tournament will automatically split it for them, so that there's no disputes afterwards.
I know people.
I'm not sure.
in the
I'm not sure
Twitch
about
chat
the
will know
team
this.
thing.
I know people.
Yeah, you
that
might have to ask Twitch chat for that.
I
I know,
think
like
Twitch
in
will notice. This
like,
actually
if
has
you go
been
to-
talked about. It's been talked about. I'm okay. Sorry to speak over you there, Dozer, but
No, it's all right.
it's been talked about because I totally remember this. I don't think it was like a topic on a council. I don't think, but I know it was a topic in Discord. As the monthly cup was like announced and things were, prize money was happening, and the question came up. I can't remember exactly how the discussion went, but I think actually. The case might be that in Magic it is allowed, because I think I want to remember somebody, and I might be wrong, so sorry if I'm wrong, but my memory tells me that somebody somewhere in the Faeria community said something like, in Magic they allow this. Should it be allowed in Faeria, like something like that? But
There's a lot of Magic tournaments, so it could be like some had it, some didn't.
Or maybe it was actually that they didn't allow it, and that's why, I can't remember exactly. But it's definitely a topic that was brought up the moment monthly cups started happening and things like that. So what do you think though? Should it be? Like, what's the pros and cons for it?
No, not for the monthly cup. The big thing for the monthly cup, as far as the developers are concerned, is it's advertising for them, right? Like them putting it on. Yes, it is a tournament to give the prize to somebody, but it's advertising for them. They want to put on a good show so that people coming in, the viewers are seeing the game, they're seeing these top level players play the game and really show off what you can do in playing Faeria. So if you end up with prize splitting, you could end up with two players from the same team in the finals, and then they just go, okay, it doesn't matter, we're splitting the prize anyway, so who cares? And they just throw the games, or they just insta concede, or it's not the same showcase. And then you end up with a poor show and specifically a poor finals to your show, and that's just bad advertising for the game.
I like the fact. Okay, Remora says. WOTC, that stands for Wizards of the Coast, doesn't prevent players from splitting, but has created rules against certain abusive practices related to splitting prices. For example, you can't ask your opponent to concede as part of a split.
Yeah, so that would be, well, I guess that would be a little different, that you could kind of cut them in, but...
This is an advantage you could have with prize splitting. Say you're up against a team member, and you know what your opponent's playing afterwards. Like, let's say... this is a semi-final, and you know who's the enemy in the finals. If you're up against your teammate, you say, okay, which one of us has a better lineup to face him in the finals? And then one or the other person just concedes so that that person gets to face them. And so that's why you don't want prize splitting. So, I mean, I completely understand Faeria not having it. I was just curious if Magic had it or not.
Yeah. I like to think that it's a good thing that it's not allowed, actually. Just from a spectator point of view, I like to think that it's,
realistically, a team could do it under the table.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
just what I
mean-
was thinking. I was like, couldn't you just do that anyway? Like,
But-
you could just.
Yeah, I mean, and then maybe
if they're just-
you don't end up with the same issue, but I still see it being the same way. Like it's putting on a good show for the viewers, and that's a big issue of having prize splitting.
Yeah, I think we just talked about that. Somebody in Twitch says, why wouldn't every player just play solo? Because if you're in a team, you can practice against usually teams doesn't consist of somebody who doesn't qualify to the tournaments. It's usually some, similar skilled or just overall highly skilled players that team together so that they help each other.
And if
Even just having one practice partner, you can practice twice as fast and keep information hidden. And that's a big thing, right? Somebody who's practicing just on ladder has to basically show their deck every single game, and you don't know what you're up against. You're not going to get guaranteed practice into the matchups that you want. So if you have at least one partner, you can train twice as fast, and each partner that you add adds that exponentially of how fast you can practice every matchup.
Yeah, because you can go like, okay, this deck I know now works very good against green. I have to try it against yellow, so and I want to try it against these two different archetypes, and you play that, and we play multiple games and.
And not even that, you can practice situations as well, right? If I'm up against a bad matchup, if they start with X card, like if you're playing, I don't know really what to go, but if you're playing against yellow events, for example, if they start Charger, what is the start I have to have with the deck that I'm playing to have a chance? And then if your practice partner doesn't have Charger in the opening hand, you just start the game over. You just surrender, you start over, you keep going until you get the matchup start that you want, and you can actually practice those situations as well.
Yeah. And I think, like, saying why don't people just play solo, I think anybody who plays on the tournament level or plays in tournaments, like, whether you're on a team, quote unquote, or not, I think everybody has that. Everybody has, they meet people through the game, or they have their friends, me and Dozer are roommates and we play together, like whatever it happens to be. Everybody has people that they talk about the game with and they discuss with privately. And like you might as well call those teams. So really anybody who's playing and competitive is going to have a team in a sense.
I'm not gonna give you any money when I win. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I like that. DeathDozer. I like that.
Who's owning the apartment?
Yeah, your contribution for rent.
Yeah. No, he said every vote that I got him on my stream was like what, like $100? He said. So
No.
that's pretty good.
Team no team, baby.
Team no team.
I will be impressed, Dozer, if you do get in the top 4.
Well, you better wear your brown pants.
I love it. We can also talk about the qualifier.
Oh.
Well, I mean, okay, when I say talk about the qualifier, what I mean is that it's kind of like a tiny subject, I think. But it was brought up when me and Kappa was covering the qualifiers. We covered both, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Scorch was part of one.
Because I was there for the first one, but I wasn't able to help.
That's
the
right.
second
That's
one.
right. Well, the second one was kind of very like I got home 5 minutes later was streaming.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was that we experienced at least in the first one, and we cut it short in the second one because life and things. But the experience is that it's double elimination best out of 3, which means that what ended up happening, especially now that the qualifiers had, since release, we've just had a lot more players play the qualifiers than we had before because more players. And what happened was that the loser bracket in 1 or 2 places fell very far behind, so that people who got far in the winner bracket fell down. They could have heck, we might even have someone in Twitch chat who was there and can tell me, but I'm pretty sure we had somebody wait at least 2 hours to play their next game, which might have even been the last game. It was like, good. And I think it might have even been more than 2 hours. I just know that 2 hours at least was happening for at least, again, 2 people. Like it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the recommendations I think that Stream and I had was switching it to best of 5 and then single elimination. That way it's the same as the monthly cup, so people play it the same way, they learn decks the same way, it makes sense. The only downside is like where you get positioned on the bracket is a lot more RNG now. Like if you have 2 of the better players on the same part of the bracket, they're eliminated. There's no dropping down and then beating a different opponent. You're just out. So like there's a little bit of a downside, but at the same time in a best of 5, it's more likely that the better player wins. So it's also better for just having the better players make it through in that sense. And it definitely speeds it up. I think though, depending on the amount of players, it will range from 4 to 5 rounds if I'm not mistaken, which means it's a lot shorter, but it's best of 5, so longer series.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on this?
I think if you reserve like 2 matches from the final round, then you still get like a good amount of games to stream, and I think I prefer that, is switching it to best of 5 single limb.
Just to talk on timing, I think it ends up with the losers bracket with double limit. I think it ends up being like 2 more rounds, but it ended up being like an insane amount more time because, like you're saying, we had exactly that. 1 single match falls behind, and it delays the entire bracket of people waiting. So I think it would be good to have it in that way. It's just so weird that it fell so far behind when people are limited by the time bank too, because you just have these. It has to be over soon because of the time, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was
I like the
kind of awkward on stream as well. I felt like
Yeah.
we had to fill a lot.
I like the
Yeah.
I like the best of sorry. I'm sorry. I
best
like
of
the
one?
best of 5.
Oh.
Best of 5. But I like the best of 5. I wish we could still keep it double elimination, but I mean I know that would just
that
make
would
it
still be
so
the same
much.
problem, if not even
Yeah.
worse. Than
It'd still be the
actually,
same problem. But I
probably
feel
even
like
worse.
I still feel like just a best of 3 isn't enough to actually. I mean, you could get totally screwed over by like bad card draws 2 games in a row and you get knocked out, or I mean, even it could happen 3 games in a row, but I mean, it's a lot less likely. So I mean, I like the best of 5. I know keeping a double elim would be rough, so I think it would just have to be best of 5 single elim, just so we don't have to deal with that problem anymore.
You guys can still weigh in, but just as an additional note too, with having it best of 3 double limb, that person that ends up waiting 2 hours, often that person in the last couple matches complains about misplaying just because he's so like tired. And with having it best of 5, that's significantly reduced. Like player fatigue isn't as much of an issue, and I think you've made it pretty far in the bottom brackets. Can you speak to that? Do you notice the player fatigue much, DeathDozer?
I'm sorry. Can you ask the question again? Or just sorry.
Just with how long the qualifier goes with having it best of 3 double LM, do you ever feel like fatigued at the end?
I never really feel bad at the end. No, normally I don't have to wait for my games. At most, I probably had to wait about 30 minutes. So I've never had to experience the worst part of it, which is like 2 hours. I think Lou just said in chat. So like I never really feel, even at the end of a normal day, I don't really feel bad. Feel like I misplay because I'm too tired or just anything like that. I mean, obviously I misplay. It's bad, but like
We've had, I think that our experience is a little bit different as well. Coming in, being newer players, we're still more, I don't want to say more interested in the game, but we definitely have more hype for the game, I guess, than somebody who's been around for years and kind of knows the old routine and everything. And we started at the same time, and Dozer is actually like 150 levels or something ahead of me. So it's like 150 hours or something like that more he's played than me. I will say to fatigue in the losers bracket, the one thing that came into my mind was I actually was supposed to play against Salugi in the losers bracket, and he just dropped instantly. Like he had no interest in playing that at all. As soon as he was out of the winners bracket, he just said, no, I'm not going to waste the rest of the day on this. So that was interesting. I was shocked to see it, but I think that it's a real thing for people to just be like, it's not worth it to play 8 rounds to try to get to qualify.
I will say too, kind of just to touch on that, in qualifier number 2, we had 7 of the top 8 players qualify, meaning the top 4 who qualified through winning their winners bracket qualification match, and then 3 of the players who lost that match dropped down and won. So if you're kind of expecting that to be the ratio, there isn't really that expectation for people to, I'm going to make a run through the losers bracket. If you're expecting that the people who make it into that winners final are strong enough that as soon as they drop down, they're going to win and qualify anyway, then I can definitely see some people having that opinion in the losers bracket of, well, I'm probably not going to make it, so why bother with the extra rounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of an interesting stat that I had off the top of my head because I did all of the stats today.
Another curveball to the debate or the discussion of the format of the qualifier, I guess, is that Remora says, why is there a delay at all? Shouldn't pairings just be Swiss and then the players with the most points win? Now, from the back of my head, I know there's I find Swiss to be something that works if you do like a short run of Swiss to cut into a top certain amount of people that go into a playoff directly after for like a one tournament format type of thing. But Swiss as like, because obviously each qualifier is like a tournament by themselves, and having it purely be Swiss, first of all, since it's up to 128 players, I just don't know the math in the back of my head, and I know I could go check it up, but it's going to mean that to get, 8 players, I think it means that we're going to need quite a few rounds. It's going to be quite a few rounds.
Yeah.
But the problem also is that, it requires people to continue playing, even though they know they're not gonna make it, and that is the single hard. Because I've hosted tournaments in games before where we did Swiss, and we had to have giveaways and like guaranteed prizes for people who just continued playing even though they knew they lost, to just try and incentivize people to not leave. Because when we didn't, like, people just like, whoom, they just left the moment they had 2 losses, and they're like, okay, so there's no statistical chance that I'm getting it. Like, I mean, it's just guaranteed I'm not gonna make it in the top whatever, right? So just based on that, Swiss is out the window for me. Like, I just don't give Swiss is shit when it comes to many things. Unfortunately, it works. Because theoretically, I guess Swiss is what they use in, like, if you play like a league or a season and stuff like that, it could work, right? But that's a whole different topic and thing, right? So
yeah. Well, Atma has just said it in the chat there too. The next round in Swiss cannot begin until the previous round is complete. That's what I was going to say as well.
True.
Don't you have to have everybody's
everyone has to finish
so that you can generate the next bracket?
What it means though is that there's less waiting on average, like, because then you get like a little waiting each round rather than later down a tournament tree.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
you end up with a little bit of delay before round 2 instead of one person who's on round 4 while waiting for a round 2 match to finish.
I think that's the benefit of Swiss, is that you get less waiting for everyone, actually. But there could be some wait. Like, if you're quick with your game, you might have to wait for the game that takes longer, right? So that will also depend then, is it a best out of 3 or best out of 5 format, on how long will the wait be for certain people, right? So that's actually a benefit of Swiss, I think, is that it's actually less waiting time each round. Like compared to the situation where somebody has to wait 2 hours for things to catch up.
At some point, as the game grows, there's no question that you're going to have to change the way this takes place. Like, there's no doubt. It's already at 1,500, 2,000 players daily or something like that, and we're already having somewhat difficulties with the qualifiers. And as you go up, as you start approaching 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 players, if and when that ever does happen, there's no question that you can't just have a voluntary qualifier. There has to be a point system in place. There has to be some method of season placement where the players who earn their way into the qualifiers then get to try to earn their way into the monthly cup, and then get to go on from there, instead of just having this voluntary basis of whoever joins a tournament and shows up, you get to play. That's obviously not going to work in the long run. I think that they're going to have to look at some sort of point system. I know that Hearthstone, as much as everybody hates to compare the games and everything, but
no, we're talking tournaments now. That's fine.
They do. I honestly don't even understand their point system because I never cared enough to learn it. But they do something with their community tournaments, I believe, where they actually sponsor certain tournaments officially that are not ran by them, but they make sure everything goes correctly or whatever, and then assign points to people who play in those tournaments. And we have so many community-driven tournaments already. I think that something like that would be really cool to see, something throughout each month to see players earn their way into the qualifiers and then go from there.
But
yeah, because they do a circuit point system based off of like top legend finishes and then top tournament finishes.
No,
it combines into qualification for certain special events.
In theory, I know how this works in the sense that the Blizzard system works that, like, for example, let's say I started hosting a tournament in Hearthstone. I go to Blizzard, go like, fill out a form and stuff, and go like, yeah, I'm making a tournament. Can I have my tournament be like officially approved to have these Blizzard points or whatever they're called, right? Or tournament, whatever, right? And depending on how many players participate, there's like a set line of like how these points work and such, and how many is distributed and stuff like that, on how many people participate, and there's a lot of stuff, but
it's a lot,
but it makes sense, so that and it is probably what makes a lot of the Hearthstone community tournaments be as popular as they are, is because people have always something to play for, and it makes sense. But am I wrong to say that isn't like Blizzard these tournaments they play over a course of time to get points to eventually get into like the Grandmaster tournament, whatever it is? Isn't that over like multiple months? Isn't this like over a much longer time period? And we have monthly seasons here. Like I feel like it would be really hard to convert this into Faeria because of the monthly seasons and the monthly cup. right? Like, if anything, the monthly cup would be this thing, and you would have a World Cup at the end of the year. Like, that would probably be where those points would come into play, and I would love that idea. I would love that if the monthly cup distributed points depending on placement in the whole bracket, and if you that would give so much incentive to play in so many monthly as possible, and at the end of the at the end of the year, maybe we had like a top 16 World Cup Faeria tournament, something like that.
Well, Scream, maybe that's why they introduced Battle of the Gods.
I actually agree a lot with Shadee though. Like, you can't have it be voluntary when the game gets super large. They will eventually have to change it, because at some point, like, they don't have to go as deep as Hearthstone where all of the tournaments add up to this like yearly tournament or something like that. They can just do like your rank, your previous season rank is whether or not you can qualify. Like, if you were in the top like 100 gods, then you're eligible to sign up for a qualifier of the next month. So they could do something like that. But like, let's say we have 30,000 people playing the game. You can't just have the qualifier be voluntary, because then it's just the first like 100 people to sign up, and you don't want it to be that way. You want there to be some merit system. So
then you'd end up with just a crapshoot on who's online at the time the season resets, when the qualifiers are up on the Battlefy page, and then people who aren't on time or who aren't online at that exact time just lose out, and now you have to try to grind for your top 10 god qualification.
I already felt kind of dirty. I signed up like 3 weeks early for these last qualifiers.
Yeah,
and I was like,
that's
all right,
what
now
I
I
mean,
know
right?
I'm gonna play. Like, I felt like it was cheating a little bit, but I was like, I'm gonna go in.
Well, and there's no downside to it either. They put everybody past that 128 on a waiting list. If people don't check in, then it goes to the waiting list. So why not sign up early, even if you don't know if you can make it? Because if you can't, you just don't check in, and you're knocked out of the bracket. Somebody else gets the spot. So why not, right? Like, and that's an issue as we get more and more. Yeah, I think that's a great point.
It's an interesting topic, what they should do with the qualifiers in the future, I guess.
It's complex.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be pros and cons. I think whatever they're doing now and whatever they might do in the future, we're always going to be able to find like, well, this is bad because of this and this and this. Like, that's never hard. It's never hard to find why something is bad. That's never hard. But let's see, somebody.
I do think the qualifiers are a good system, though. Like, to have in different ways to qualify for the monthly cup.
Yeah, I don't think the current system
instead
is bad
of just
at
doing
all.
Like, here's the top 32 players. Type of thing.
I think if the qualifiers were maxed out at 128 players showing up and playing each month, and we had people who like, god damn it, I didn't get in, then we would have a problem. But it's not, so I don't think. I think the problem is more the fact that in the qualifiers, and I know Atmos, expect this to happen, and I also expect this to happen. But I think it's unfortunate that people sign up and they're like, god damn it, there's 128 people signed up. I signed up after that. I'm on the waiting list, and they don't really know that once then it comes around to when the monthly the qualifier actually happens, there's just so much people so much. I'm making it sound like, so many people don't show up. No, there's always going to be people, because it's free to sign up. Anyone can sign up. Heck, people might be like, you know what? I have a family dinner on that weekend, but I'm going to sign up anyway, because who knows? Maybe I divorce by then, right? So I don't know, right? Like, people sign up because it's easy, right? So and then they don't show up. And what's happened every time is that we don't have a full starting field, because I think there's also a bunch of these people who signed up, was on the waiting list, and then something semi-excited happened. Like, they're like, it's a good movie, I'll go watch that, or, why not go to McDonald's instead of playing the monthly cup? Like, semi-good stuff. And hence they don't show up, but they really wanted to play maybe, and if they showed up, they would be like, I got in, because all these other people didn't show up. Because we are up to 150, 170 people or something like that signs up, and it just feels like a lot of people that don't show up. I think a portion doesn't show up because they can't, but a portion don't show up because they thought they couldn't get in. You know what I mean? Like, there's a portion of people that really wanted to play probably, but they're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna, I'll go do this other thing instead because I'm not in it. So, and I don't have a solution for that. I don't know what the solution would be. I just think it's unfortunate because I do think it could be a little bit higher participation numbers looking at how many people sign up. But at least we have a high sign-up number, and I think, until we run into the problem of the monthly cup having 128 people, or monthly qualifier, having 128 people showing up and playing, and having people showing up and not getting in because it's full, until then, I think it's good as it is. That's what I think. All right.
Yeah, just that condensed. Yeah, if you're someone that signs up, guys, just make sure you always are there to check in because, yeah, you never know when people just won't make it. And then if you're on the waiting list, there's a good chance you'll get in. So
yeah, and so far
try
it's
and
never
show
been full. So far it's never been full. So theoretically, the next qualifier, if you sign up, no matter when you sign up for it, if you show up for it, you're gonna get in. Like, it's not a problem.
Yeah. If I counted properly, there were 35 buys on qualifier number 2 this past weekend.
Holy.
Which
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, and that's a lot.
Which
of
I think was the
nice.
highest since the release. Like I looked back
okay.
at qualifier number 1 right after, or qualifier number 1 for March, which was like right after the release. So kind of influx of new players type of thing. There was 22 buys. I think the one after that was a little less. And then I think it's kind of grown back up a little bit since then, now to 35. So,
But we also had a good number of signups. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I know it's.
Yeah,
always
I
been
think
big.
the lowest on there was like 151 or something, just as I was looking through. But it was like 182, 189, 170 something, and then 151. But I don't think there's a way to do it, but it'd be interesting to see if they could implement some sort of check-in of the day before. And then do like an actual, like the check-in for the I'm here to play the hour before the same way. Just because then you could actually knock a few people off who signed up but now know they can't play the next day, and just remove those from the tournament and start putting your waiting list through so that people know they're in the tournament the day before, instead of, like you're saying, the last minute, well, I'm probably not going to get in, so I'm not even going to bother. And then you end up with all these buys anyway.
I think especially just for qualifier number 2, to immediately have a way of weeding out the 16 people that qualified from the first one, because usually people sign up for both, and then if they qualified from the first one, they can't make it to the second, obviously. So
I think that would be that would actually probably be a good thing. Like, I know I've said that, oh well, you can play in the second one, get some practice and stuff and such, but I actually, now that I think about it, I think it would be good if it wouldn't be much, but I would say, like, if you qualified in the first one, not being able to participate in the second one, it would be a very low. It would, only affect 8 players, but it would. I think it could be a good thing to deny entry then, but it wouldn't do much. We're talking a very low number there, I think.
wait, you already can't participate in both if you win the first one.
Oh,
it's
so what
just
were you
making
saying?
it sure that it doesn't show up in the sign-up list. That way, people look at the sign-up sheet and they say,
I
okay,
see
so
what you mean.
there's still 8 spots available that I have a guaranteed spot, basically.
I see what you mean. All right.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
just kind of-
actually,
there's
I
only
actually
12
didn't know it was against the rules already. I thought you could compete in both. But I realize now the problems they would cause, actually. So
Yeah.
Yeah, just double check that one. There was 12 buys in qualifier number 1 for this month. So that probably is a chunk of it too, right? That 12 went up to 35 for qualifier number 2. So if you think that those 8
Interesting.
players who qualified were in there as well, and then maybe a few more people on top of that, then you end up with all these extra buys. So yeah, it's just you end up with people of unsure, and then they don't show up. So yeah, it's something that would be nice if we could get kind of even the day before.
Just to confirm that, the first qualifier I ever played in, I was in the waiting list and I signed up just like, whatever kind of thing. Then I actually forgot about it and just happened to check it at the right time that day and was able to check in because there wasn't enough people there. Like, as soon as I saw that there were like 170 people signed up, I thought I would have no shot whatsoever and didn't think twice about it again until I just happened to see it.
You're my perfect example there of what I was saying. Yeah.
And does the waiting list give you kind of a number of here's how many open spots there are to check into, or it just says you
check
can?
in.
Okay.
Yep, I just saw the check-in, and it doesn't even give you like a notification or anything. It literally just replaces, like, if you were one of the people before the waiting list, it just replaces that sidebar with a check-in button. Like if you're just looking at the page and you don't even notice the check-in button, you might not even see that. Oh, look, I'm available now. Or like sometimes you have to refresh because it gets stuck and stuff like that. Like if people just don't do that, then they just don't sign up.
Wildernick is suggesting gold fee for qualifier. That is an interesting topic, but probably once the whole tournament system is in client. I think before that it's gonna be impossible.
I was gonna say it'd be so impossible to regulate. But...
yeah. But what somebody said something when we were comparing with Hearthstone, that a Hearthstone season is 1 month as well. But yeah, so in Hearthstone, which by the way is a ginormous game and organization compared to what we're in here, has also they have, so Hearthstone does it, they have the regular monthly seasons in the game, but their tournament seasons are separate, so that's entirely separate. The tournament seasons are a whole different thing, while in Faeria it goes hand in hand. It's synced. It's the monthly cup is a thing to finish off the the season. It's something cool that it gives some incentive to playing the ladder. It's it goes hand in hand more than that. I would just say that when we're comparing with Hearthstone, I think what we should look at, like when you can't compare these esports scenes on equal levels. Like I think what Hearthstone has is like they're playing in like a whole different league when it comes to the level of the tournaments, the teams, the organizations, the everything. What we have here is basically like a little fun, good, like, okay, that sounded bad, but I mean like, there's money on the line. It's a good, exciting tournament, but it's, a monthly thing that happens once a month compared to Blizzard, where it's like, eventually you go on and win some millions. Right, like it's a bit different organization, I would say, and player base and everything. So, do we have anything else we want to say about tournaments and esports?
I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, I'm ready to move
on. But anyway, the monthly cup comes up this Saturday. By the way, so this Saturday at 4 p.m. Central European Time. So that's 2 p.m. GMT.
Yep.
It's gonna be exciting. Gonna be cool.
Do you say we have stats from the qualifiers, Scorch?
No, I said I don't think I have any other interesting stats from the qualifiers.
No idea how many people played Yellow Rush or anything?
No, I don't get that.
Oh, can't you start keeping track? That would be so much
get
work.
Exact on what people played.
Can we get exact card? I want to know how many Kalim prayers were played.
Man.
Oh,
I wish I could.
How many platforms missed about you?
I think a lot of competitors would want that information too.
Right? Oh yeah, that would be that would be good information, wouldn't it?
I played against one Yellow Rush, so we can start there. That's one.
Nice.
Can we all just pull together our information? Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's one of the things that could definitely be a database collecting stuff like because Scorch is not a robot, even though you might think so. He actually manually tracks in a Google Doc spreadsheet, every single player who Is it even qualifiers now?
It's qualifiers now.
So every single player
I would do all of the other tournaments if it were feasible, but I might reach out to...
Yeah, but the gigantic job of tracking every single player that plays in the qualifiers as well as the monthly cups in a Google Doc, so he can go like, well, this player here's his, what is it, like track record, win rate and stuff like that. Like that's pretty insane, and yeah, people don't see that because it's mostly shared among the casters and the production and the people streaming and covering and talking about the tournaments.
I was pretty excited. I now have somebody from every single letter of the alphabet. After, don't ask me why that excited me, but after
he's totally not a robot.
Qualifier number 1, we had Kadesh. I hope I'm saying that properly. Started with a Q. Was the last letter that I was missing in the spreadsheet.
And that's such a nerdy thing to keep track of. Like, oh man, I'm missing the letter Q. can somebody?
Yep. This is my life.
Oh, it is hilarious.
And nobody starts with a number or
What?
any other symbol of that style.
What? Somebody quick, make a Smurf. But I was gonna say, So yeah, he's not a robot, but that's the statistics we're talking about, like how many Kalim sprayers, how many this and that. Like that's something that would be super cool if the developers made an API that was, that allowed somebody to collect that information, right? That data. That would be super awesome and super cool. I would love that. That would be fun. Statistics. Damn accountants and their spreadsheets. I can now see the connection between his job and
Yeah.
They
there
already-
it is.
They already have that, right? They had the stat for how many times Farm Boys collected, how many Falcon dives were
Yeah,
used,
I mean,
etc. Like they already have that. I think.
they can. I think what they have is they can definitely go in and look at it. Like they obviously in house have some way of seeing all that cool stuff, but yeah, it's not public, so
Just no
Yeah.
access. Yeah.
that would be cool. All right. So, I had a transition before. Now I lost it. Where do we go from there? From here?
If we're moving on from tournaments,
Okay.
we could do like a 5-minute break real quick and then jump into
Oh,
other stuff.
I know. I like how you're so that I can go make another cocktail. Is
That's
what you're,
see?
is what you're
Good
saying,
idea.
right? I like that idea. Another Negroni or maybe a Boulevardier. I can't
Or a
speak French.
Count Dooku.
Or a Count Dooku.
Or Count Dooku.
All right. Okay, 5-minute break is approved by the upper council here,
The
me
upper
and
ranks
Scorch,
here.
right? You see how
Running
this
that
is
up
like
the ladder.
like a what is it called, like pyramid scheme here, right? Me and Scorch is on the top, and we got Shadee, Cappuccino, and Dozer. So if you guys can just get like each of you get 2 people.
Oh
that transfers $15 to said account, then it's good. All right, we'll be right back then, guys. 5-minute about approx.
Yeah, it's definitely still muted.
Which means that we're coming back without them. Oh no! Where's the other two? We don't know where Dozer and Shadee went. We know they live in the same dorm or something like that.
There's one.
But clearly they took a while. Alright, so now...
Probably had to reload the beverages into the fridge.
Now, if you look on the stream, you'll see another fancy cocktail. It is not the same as before. It is the Boulevardier. Like, there's gonna be French
That looks
people
pretty close.
going like, I know, they look exactly the same. Now, the difference is tiny. So in a Negroni, you have equal parts gin, red sweet vermouth, and Campari bitter. And the only difference to a Boulevardier and a Negroni is that this one, instead of gin, has bourbon. So, it is really good.
Nice.
I've got my mystery gauntlet again, or
Yep.
my cup, I mean.
Yeah. Now, no
You just
Manhattan
guess
this
what's in
time.
here?
I think Manhattan would have taken even longer time than this one took to do. I was like 5 minutes, and then I came back. I was like, damn it, it went 7. Because it does take a little time to prepare. And it's something, you know, the orange peel is like, oh, that's a nice decoration. It actually adds. It's crazy how much, like, you just take an orange peel and you like twist it a little bit. Like, there's oils in the peel that kind of when you like kind of squeeze it above the drink, it actually like squirts down on it, and you actually rub it against the rim. So every time you sip, you get a little bit of this orange taste and flavor. It's very subtle, but it's crazy. Like, I was like, when I started out with the drinks and such, like 10 years ago or something like that, it was, you know, I was like, I can't have, like, how much does that thing do, right? Like, it's, you know, it's actually surprising how much such a little thing does. And it's the internet, so obviously my words were fun. But yeah, cheers, guys.
Alright, looks like we've got them both back. You want to move on to balance stream?
I like how you're making it my decision, but it's like, what about when you move on to balance stream? And it's like, oh, you know what?
We're
I
just
think
mutinying the Kappa Council, and Scream's not allowed to talk anymore. We're just taking over.
You
But,
guys are on the top, man. We got to refer to you.
so. Clearly,
Yeah.
something is wrong with the balance, right? Before the season ended, I was winning, and then I struggled a little bit. But I got to rank 5. The day before the season reset with Blue Duan, which is a blue list that runs Blue Duan, which who made it, Kapu? Who made the list? Was it you?
Well, that list I just scrapped together. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Kappa
Is
made
it
the
like
list.
the
The list
old-
I was running. Yeah. What?
Is it like the old Blue Control back from like September, October type of thing with the when the Luda one was super popular?
It's very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was really fun.
I didn't see much of the stream, so it's just
It was
whenever
really
you say
fun.
Ludawan, I have a very specific deck list in mind
I think I remember
of that
too.
really old school Blue Control.
Yeah.
It was really
I-
fun. Yeah.
I've messed around with like Ludian lists for ever since like Ludian was changed to be a 1/4
Yep.
with gain a random card, and like I've always just thrown in a ton of mobility and heralds and stuff and just played it as is. And the one I gave for stream was running like 3 spell rolls, and I think the ones that were competitive at the time for like the blue competitive Ludian list, it was like no spell rolls, and it was just running a lot of strong cards like heralds and stuff.
Yeah, because
So
it
not
was
as
pretty much like
fine-tuned.
the Ludawan, of course, Prophet of Tides to get it into the right spots, and then you basically ran Lore Thieves and then like your Mirror Phantasm combos, that sort of thing. Even at, I guess that time was during Unbound. I guess it would have been. But
I think
It would have
yeah,
been close.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the
And Shadee and Dozer
kind
like,
of going.
what are
way
they
back for
talking
the new
about?
guys,
Is this
yeah.
before or after Christ?
Yeah.
It's before release. It's way back. It's last year even. But yeah, so I played that list. And got to rank 5. Was super happy to get to rank 5. I was never pushing for God because it didn't have enough time. But then I'm like, well, I felt good. So the season reset, and I think it was yesterday. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna play Pandora. I'm gonna play Ladder. I'm gonna play Constructed because I had so much fun. I felt like yeah, and lost. Like, and then I went to play Hots. So it's like, I was like, what happened? The meta. I don't know. It was just it just didn't work for me. But I it's kind of funny. I think Cap came on that stream and he coached me like one session, and then I won because Cap is good. But also like the thing was I lost, and I really like I'm not one who go tilt, but it all of a sudden it was like, you know, each game just felt so hard to play well. And I needed, like, it felt like, so when I had Cap on my shoulder being like, well, what if you did this and, you know, help me out, then obviously I also calmed down, and all of a sudden I felt I could play better. But at the time I've already kind of given up. But yeah, so it's kind of funny, and nothing changed in between. It was just that season reset, and I'm like, man, what the fuck? But what is the meta then? Like, what is top tier, and what is how's the experience then? Because yeah, I have only played yesterday and a little bit, and today I did Pandora. It wasn't me playing Construct for the first time, by the way. But it was
Alright,
it was
so-
in a while.
I guess I'll start. What I think currently is like incredibly strong. Like what I see the meta as is basically yellow events is extremely strong right now. Blue jump is popular. Then you have like the red decks that are trying to counter those two, and then you have the green deck that counters the red deck that's trying to counter those two. And then like
Yep.
Sack is played somewhere in the middle, and Crackthorn's played somewhere in the middle. Those are both strong decks. And in terms of tournament lineup, though, what we're seeing really is like yellow event, blue jump, and then Crackthorn, because Crackthorn's a versatile deck. It's good against Rush. It's good against the two other decks. And so we're basically at that point where almost everyone now is just bringing those 3 decks to their lineup.
Yeah, it's kind of slowed quite a bit as well. We used to see really at least one rush deck brought, not by everybody, but at least by a few people. Whether it was yellow rush, whether it was in the heyday of red mid range, or the red rush that kind of came out a little bit, but it's really slowed quite a bit. But yeah, like you're saying, it's like blue jump and yellow events are so strong. What does that leave you with for your especially in the Pantheon format, it leaves you with red and green, just because the blue and yellow take so many things away that you can't really run either of them as a dual color deck. So then you're left with, okay, do I play mono green? Why wouldn't I just play Crackthorn? Like if by playing red control or red mid-range type of thing, okay, why am I not playing Crackthorn? So it just leaves you in a spot of, why am I not playing that when I can add in those extra buffs from green, or if you're thinking of green, add in the extra damage from red.
Yeah, that's exactly what I took to. I think both the qualifiers was Crackthorn, blue and yellow, and I will touch on this once and briefly. And oh my God, Crackthorn! This last qualifiers, Crackthorn destroyed me. I played 4 games in a row where the same exact situation happened, where the opponent either had 1 creature on the board or 2 or 3 creatures on the board. One of them had 1 HP and completely missed like 6 times in 4 games, like over and over and over. Oh my God, it was just the worst. I actually managed to make it pretty far into the losers bracket, even considering that. But I was like, that was my leading deck, and I was like, I'm never leading with this again. Like I can't. Like this is just the worst feeling. I'm tired of it.
That's
I think that's why some
a
people-
side topic as well. We're gonna probably touch on the Crackthorn, but
Yeah.
All right, so how does the meta feel? Like, are you guys happy with current meta? Would you like?
No.
Because I always like change, no matter how good the meta might be. I always am one who goes like, well, now it's been a while. Let's get some balance changes or something to throw it up in the air a bit.
That actually is a good conversation point. Maybe. Do you guys think like the meta can be countered at the moment? Because right now we have yellow events, which is actually very fast paced. It's like almost an aggro deck, so maybe that's a bit harder to counter. But the blue jump deck that runs the Prophet of Tides, like, do we start seeing like opening decks with 3 Falcon dives on ladder? Do you see decks that are just having better success? And the bargain deck, do you guys think that is opening it up as maybe a counter to the blue? Because we're seeing bargain now on ladder a bit more.
Yeah, I've seen even just from people streaming. Usually, I think it's just mono red bargain, but I have seen some kind of experimentation. But it's kind of odd because, and again, this is kind of just going into the limited format of monthly cups. It's just your dual color options are very limited right now. Blue doesn't go with anything that great. Green blue enchantment, sure, but it limits what else you can do, really. Red yellow we're seeing still be really strong in burn, but green yellow sack I think is just a little below everything else, so that's not really as much of an option. But I think you're just so limited in the dual colors. But I really like the bargains are coming back around, just even as an archetype, if the meta has slowed down to that point where you can play a greedier deck.
I have not liked this meta since like the first week it came out. I'm really comfortable with a completely different style of play. So essentially over the last month, I've been playing a game that I am not good at and really don't even enjoy. Like I've just been forcing myself to learn this archetype that's grown in.
Which
before
archetype?
this, just with like blue and yellow specifically.
Okay.
I think that the biggest thing about those decks that fighting against them and fighting with them, you can flip the board so quickly. Like if you don't have something to play, it only takes 1 or 2 turns and their board is cleared and you're triple collecting. And then boom, you're at their face the next turn because you have jumps and dashes and flash wins and chargers and just all sorts of things that every other deck is lacking in. And it kind of forces you to play every game in this way. Like when I'm playing against somebody and they just don't play anything for 4 or 5 turns, I don't feel like I'm ahead of them. I feel like some horrible things are about to happen, and there's nothing I can do about it. I can keep collecting and keep putting creatures down and advance across the board, but if I don't have something to really pressure their face, then they're gonna flip the board, and then I'm behind. And I don't like it.
I think a big thing of both of the decks as well, of blue jump and yellow events, just because we're touching on those two so much, is that they have varied win conditions throughout how a game goes. You can start a game very quickly, put your trait and trainer down, and then get whatever's buff, like a Ninja Toad or something, and put that pressure on your opponent very quickly, and just end the game within the first few turns. Same with yellow events. If you get the Charger, if you're playing archers, that sort of thing, even just a good Wind Soldier clear, both of these decks can get a good early advantage and end the game really as it starts. But both of them can play slowly and just like out collect. The yellow event just clears everything on the board over and over, and then you get to a point where maybe you're even on board, but then all of a sudden you start dropping Colossus, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. So the fact that the decks can play so versatile in pushing aggression early or just waiting because you know you're going to outvalue in the late game, I think is really key to what both of those decks have in common in that style of play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Just being able to, the Colossus at the moment being as strong as they are is just, it's pretty crazy because I think if the Colossus were a bit weaker, decks would have a chance at defending against these yellow and blue decks a bit easier because you do actually make yourself a little bit vulnerable playing these Prophet of Tides,
Yep.
using a Fanatic, which is 3 Faeria for a 2-life creature. Like, normally this is supposed to be a weakness that just makes you even worse, other than the fact that you get the trick. But what happens is you do this trick and then like Soul Pack, drop a Colossus, and you've just won the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like even in just the way of clearing over and over, and you and your opponent are just both starved for Faeria, both fighting for position on the board, and it's like, okay, I have 3 Faeria, my opponent has 3 to answer. If I do nothing, I can play maybe 1 Soul Pact, makes it 2 Colossus next turn, and they have what, 6 Faeria to answer with if they did nothing on that turn. Like, there's no way you can keep up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It definitely, it feels like once you're behind, you're done. Like that's it. Like there's very rarely in a game playing as any of the popular decks right now where like if I'm fighting over mid wells or if I have a couple of wells on my side and then all of a sudden I don't, like once it hits that point and they're ahead on Faeria and they have like a double collection or something set up, like it's done. Like they're just gonna double draw every turn after that. Once those lands are established and they have the ability to do move tricks and board position, stuff like that, it's over.
I feel like this meta is like really good at punishing misplays, like pretty well. Like the second you lose board control, it's so over for you because if they control the board for even 1 or 2 turns, like they've gathered that much more Faeria than you, and you're gaining maybe like 3 or 4. So you're already at a loss because of misplays. I think it makes it a more skilled environment, I feel like, but also if you get bad draws, that's I mean, if you get bad draws in any matchup or any I'm sorry, lost for words here. Any meta. If you get a bad draws in
You
any
can always
meta,
get bad
it's gonna be
draws,
bad.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
Is it
just
because
this one just misplaced so bad.
Yeah, and is this all because mobility on the board that is the Faeria board is just so strong?
Yeah, that's the point that I definitely wanted to bring up next is going back like all the seasons I've played, it's always been a snowball game where if you are playing red, you Cypher's Wrath their creature, you collected, they didn't collect, you built up a lead, next turn you double land, drop a ground shaker in the face, you usually just win from that point. But what's happened now is it used to be only red against yellow or red against blue could have that snowball effect. Other decks were slow enough that you would collect and it would be less potent. But now with Chargers being having so much event synergy, blue having Prophet of Tides and playing the 4/4 bodies, there's just so many mobile creatures now in the meta where if you do get that first trick, you are threatening their entire board basically, so there's no chance of them to come back. And I think Lou recently made a video on this where he was addressing cutting back Prophet of Tides, cutting back Horsemaster to be 3 land requirement. That way the game doesn't feel like it's over on turn 3, because right now, let's be honest, if you drop a Triton Warrior, use a Prophet next turn to kill the enemy Charger, there's like 0 chance they come back from that.
Yeah.
They need like perfect draws after that.
I think another thing to it is your clears are really efficient. Most of the time, if you're using like Frog of Fire, Last Nightmare, just as an example of kind of the harder removal, you really want to use that on something bigger where you can always gain Faeria. But even just in your smaller removal, something like Wind Soldier, Ninja Toad, even Ninja Toad buffed by Triton Trainer, you almost always play it at least beside 1 well, and most of the time you try to play greedier where you can get it to collect off of 2 wells. And that actually, in that clear, puts you so much further ahead. And yes, it does show off the skill of that player when they're able to see the certain lines that give them the exact correct clear to be as efficient as possible. But that efficiency means that even when you're able to get a little bit of a board advantage against that type of a deck, they can swing the board so quickly, just like Cap was saying earlier. Like it's incredibly good when they can get not only the clear, but the extra Faeria to play another creature behind that clear.
Yeah, there are times where you can actually make a losing play let's say you're halfway through the game or something, and the board's pretty much cleared off, and you're playing green or green red or something. You drop a fairly decent double collection creature, a ground shaker 5/6 or something like that. If they clear that next turn with like a wind soldier that double collects, or a ninja toad that double collects or something like that, like they played such a cheap removal. Like if that was your 6 Faeria that you had, like you're behind. Even if they don't put anything on the board, they got their double collection and they removed your creature. They're ahead now, and like you have nothing to play to follow up.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why blue and yellow especially are so strong, is they actually do have one of the only comeback mechanics of having good haste units. With Ninja Toad having the buff to clear creatures, or Wind Soldiers being able to clear, those haste units means you don't miss out on having collected, because those collect for you. So they're like the only 2 comeback mechanic cards in the game as like haste units.
Well, and especially with blue, it's basically a triple value. You collect, you reduce your Colossus, and you've cleared your opponent's creature, which stops them from collecting. So it puts you basically 3 Faeria ahead from playing 1 creature.
And you can drop an aggressive land on that turn as well. You can dash forward, drop an aggressive land, clear, double collect, and next turn you're like, okay, like this is in the bag now.
So, is because I see Twitch chat like it's they're waking up here, and that's awesome. I hope people watching this on YouTube will leave comments on their thoughts as well. That's always fun to read. So let's see. There was a comment here I really wanted to mention about comeback mechanics, and I think somebody said that. Well, someone is asking like what good comeback mechanics could they add or should they add, and someone says that another person has the opinion that comeback mechanics by itself is not good, and it's boring, it's dangerous, it makes the game less fun when you're putting in mechanics just so that people can come back from maybe playing poorly or being behind. But I think it's Lou or someone here that says that. They instead of adding comeback mechanics, they should try and nerf the cards that snowball. What's your overall like? What how do we pick that apart into something that makes sense?
It's really weird because like they introduced Doomsday and said, well, we want some comeback mechanics, and then Doomsday got nerfed to 9, and like it needed it from 4. Like at 4, Doomsday was oppressive, but going to 9, it's just not seen anymore. And it's like, okay, you just said you wanted some form of comeback mechanics, and then now you've removed the comeback mechanic. Well, yes, very small.
Well, it was very oppressive.
Of Doomsday. Yeah, it was.
I don't think Doomsday was a comeback mechanic. That's the problem. I think Doomsday was a proactive play.
Yeah,
like you would just drop creatures, then Doomsday and get the Oakling value to buff your creatures, or
because you used to be able to play that card and then play cards. Like it didn't end the turn. Like they then also kind of like, let's make it.
It definitely wasn't accomplishing the comeback mechanic. Like some Yellow Rushes ran it as a chance to beat green. Like in like a color first color matchup, if you want to counter green, you put 3 Doomsday in, and it really is good at comeback. But like other than that, it wasn't used as comeback at all.
No. But that was the design of it, it was supposed to be a comeback. If you're behind, here's Doomsday to reset the board. But it wasn't played that way. But there was something around it of when people were talking about pre-nerf Doomsday of how do you change it? And there was kind of a situation tossed out of what if you put it on a timer, even something like a structure that has production next turn, essentially Doomsday effect, clear the board. I think something like that could have a place where you have a situation on the a situational play where you put something on the board, your opponent can then react to it, and if they can't, then that sort of effect goes off.
Because then the opponent can go like, well, I'll just wait until it clears the board, type of thing as well.
That's the point, right? If you're in a situation where you're not able to clear that structure then, and you're not able to prevent it from triggering, then you just don't play anything. You know that it's going to happen, and then you can save that Faeria, and then you're still at an advantage where, yes, your opponent has 3 Faeria and a clear board to play with on that turn, but you have 6, maybe 8 or 9 if you've collected that from the board advantage.
I like this idea of a card.
It would need to be something like that of a comeback mechanic where it has a situation that your opponent can play around.
I like this idea of a card that is a structure that, or something. Yeah, probably a structure then that, within a set of time frame or something, production that eventually clears the board. I actually like the idea of the card, but I don't think it's something that they can like. That's something that they should definitely take to the future expansion or something to add to the game. I like that idea. I'm curious how that would work, but with the current meta and the current cards that we have, yeah. We don't have that card.
Yeah.
So is combat mechanics something that should exist, and is it good or bad? What do you guys think?
I think that a comeback mechanic actually, most of the time, it just punishes somebody for playing well. Like if they played
Right.
really good, and it's just not something, it's not something that you can play around. It just punishes you for being better than your opponent, or even having the better matchup.
Because even something like the AoE of Firestorm as a quote-unquote comeback mechanic, but of just if your opponent has been too greedy in their trades, you can use Firestorm to clear the board. That actually leads to decisions where, okay, do I have to make a bad trade to ensure that I have 2 7/2s left? Okay, maybe I have to trade the first one and leave a 7/5, but lose a creature just to play around that AoE. That actually encourages good play and riskier trades in certain situations. But yeah, like just straight up comeback mechanics, like you said, it just does punish bad or good plays instead of like rewarding bad ones type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Firestorm is a great card to point out because I do think Firestorm in that sense is a comeback card, and
yeah,
I don't know if I like it or dislike it.
But isn't it a card that you can avoid playing into though? Like it is a comeback mechanic, I guess, or a comeback card for the red player when your opponent goes like, I'm gonna drop all these low health creatures on the board because I can. And knowingly playing against a red player, I would call that a misplay by the opponent. Like I would say you're playing wrong. Like you shouldn't do that because of the existence of that card. And then you can't really complain. Like you can't go to Discord like some people do and be like, fucking red OP Firestorm piece of garbage. Like what happened? I played all my toads and it punished me. It's like, well,
and that's why I think Firestorm is like a better designed comeback card. Like I like that kind of because it's a card that good players can play around. Like Scorch was putting out that example. If you have like a 3/4 and your enemy has a Verduran that's like 7/3. You can hit your 7/2 into it so that you're not weak to Cypher's Wrath, not weak to Firestorm, or you can hit your 3/4 into it that would have survived Firestorm. And good players, when they're weak to Firestorm, will hit in their 7/2 instead. Or if they're really far ahead and they don't have to worry about Firestorm, you hit the 3/4 in. But yeah, there's these situations where good players can play around it and choose to, but it's still a comeback card where if you do play into it, the red player has a chance to get extreme value. So I like that type of comeback card, I think.
Yeah. So is that a situation then where each color needs some form of an AoE? To put a comparison, Hearthstone is basically known for that. Basically every class has some form of an AoE.
I didn't even know this.
Yeah,
so
they have...
every single class has something in an AoE format, whether it has some form of drawback or some lesser damage or it's consistent damage across every creature. Is that something that each of the classes need, or do we like that red is kind of the damage class or damage color?
I like the way that Faeria has it sorted out right now. One of the things that makes, I think, Hearthstone... the way they add that into decks, I think the way they put neutral cards into the game is actually one of the better aspects. I think that they are generally pretty good at realizing what every class will need some sort of access to. There's the 3/3 when your opponent has like more than 4 creatures on the board, he can actually steal one of those creatures, and it's random because it's Hearthstone, so it has to be RNG.
Yeah.
But but it does exist, and you can tech that. I specifically remember in the past teching that into decks and being like, okay, like my deck works really well right now, but because of this meta, I need this one card. Let me grab a couple of those. I'm going to be fine. And right now, I just don't think there's a lot of the neutral cards that get played are just Falcon Dive and the Ranger that gives you campfires and stuff like that. There aren't really a lot of interesting mechanics in the neutral cards, I think, that encourages people to add them into the decks.
I think Plague Bearer Famine is
Yep.
a neutral pair that isn't maybe played as much as it should be, just in terms of the potential strength of it. But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Having like Mind Control Tech, having like Big Game Hunter, those type of cards were actually really memorable in Hearthstone for its ability of punishing certain metas. So like currently in this Colossus meta, if we had a Big Game Hunter, for example, have it like somewhat balanced on like Hearthstone originally, have it like 5 Faeria, 5/1, and then it kills any creature with 7 attack. Like something like that could exist, and it has a weakness to Falcon Dive, so it's not like that broken. And that could help punish like blue and yellow metas, but like then that adds RPS, so I don't know if I like that in that sense.
Well, Lou touched on that in his video, and we talked about it in Discord a while back. I think Big Game Hunter has been brought up a few times about adding it into this game, and he said that he would be interested to see like a sort of a death touch, like combat effect almost, where you don't just play that removal from hand. It does take that additional turn to set up, but then you have that threat. It's like, okay, go ahead and play a Colossus by my face, but I've got this 5/1 collector or whatever collector just waiting. So it can take it out when you play it.
I think an interesting one, kind of along the same lines, would be something similar to Shara, but instead of damage value, you end up with a Faeria cost. So instead of where Shara ignores any damage equal to 4 or more, you have a creature that ignores or death touch against creatures 7 Faeria or higher. So you end up with the same type of situation of a big creature killer, but not to a direct just kill it right away wording. Like from hand, like you're saying, of a creature on board that you can play around instead of a from hand.
Yeah.
All right. So how is the meta?
Well,
how do you want to?
Maybe we should condense that point then that we originally started with. What do you guys think if land requirement for movement tricks was restricted to 3 lands? Like, do you agree that would slow down the game and make it less over by like turn 3, for example? Or do you guys like the movement like Horsemaster being available early on?
I like Horsemaster being available early on for sure. He's definitely. I don't see him as a power card necessarily. He's definitely something good to have, but not something that's so overplayed or so unbalanced you can't play around it. But the movement tricks and blue jump, I think blue jump can still be playable for a 3 affinity movement tricks. I definitely think that makes it still a viable deck to play. It just makes it slower.
Well, yeah, what I mean, just to reiterate that really quick, when you are playing green and you drop like a Verduran Force, for example, and then you Horsemaster that to kill the enemy Windstorm Charger, the game's basically over. And regardless of Horsemaster being individually strong, it does lead to these situations where the game's over turn 3.
Yeah, you're right.
I think Horsemaster is a little bit of a different case, just because you have to have the exact ally that you need at the right time for charge, instead of something like the Charger or Blue Jump, where your movement and then your extra movement on top of that in a completely different direction. And I think maybe the only real thing that Horsemaster could do would maybe get charge 2 instead of charge 3, and then you really restrict the allies that you can have. But Prophet and Flashwind being pushed to 3 instead of 2 where they currently sit, I definitely could see, because the big thing for that is you go desert or lake, and then you can use your movement with prairies, and you end up all the way across the board instead of where you're forced to play an extra lake or an extra desert. The lake, I think, is still close because your Prophet and jump still ends up in most spots on the board, but maybe you don't get to double collect because of that, which is a big thing for blue jump. Charger is done on turn 3. You actually can't play that movement anymore unless you have something like Kalim's Training to give it flying. 3 deserts means you can't actually reach your opponent, so I do like that one.
Yeah, actually, I agree there. Charge 2 on Horsemaster rather than making it a land requirement thing.
Yeah.
Charge 2, I think, fixes a lot of the issues I have with it. Because then you can play around it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like the Charge 2 on Horsemaster. I like upping the land requirements for pretty much all the move tricks. I think that, I mean, until we see it, we won't really know exactly what effect it has, but I think ideally it's a really good way to go. And then also, I like the idea of taking Kaleem and Mythmaker and upping their land requirements as well. So we're not seeing 6/6s come out on turn 2. Like you can make a trade and then heal to 6/6, or you can start double collecting turn 2 or turn 3 or whatever. So
I think maybe another thing to profit could just be move a land twice if there's a creature on that space it can't move. Kind of wordy in the end, but especially because of jump. We saw, of course, some of the newer players won't know this, but we saw how bad old Kodama was with the original Grove Caller just because it had jump. Yes, the teleport was an issue at that point, but because of the jump on it as well, you were able to put a land and teleport to wherever you wanted and then jump afterwards. And that jump just gives you so much extra movement. So maybe that's something that could be put in where the creature actually can't move if it's on the land that Prophet moved. But yeah, I think it's just too wordy to be implemented.
it's interesting.
I like this discussion because this is also where I think Faeria differentiates to all these games people keep comparing it to. 99% it's Hearthstone, which is the fact that we're playing a board game and we're talking about how mobility is so strong. You would never hear this debate in any other like pure card game. We're like, oh, mobility, like what are you talking about? We're just playing them on a table, you know. And yeah, like you guys are saying, Charge 3 is like, because obviously we don't have different sizes of boards here. We have one size of a board here, and Charge 3 compared to Charge 2 is such a huge difference. Because if you're just one hex away from your side of the board, you're reaching all the way over to the other, and it's Charge 3 is huge in the board size that we have, and I you know, without being, you know, a top constructed player, I really like the sound of that. Like it makes sense. Because that's what I'm seeing. Even, you know, as soon as I dip into constructed, I'm like, all this mobility. It's like so strong, and you know, even if the, you know, blue Ludon list that I was running isn't like, you know, considered the absolute best, it's, you know, still having those blue, you know, movement tricks and jumps. It's so crazy how good that is. Like it is so strong.
And when you look at it with that difference as well as having the power wheel. Something that we sort of didn't touch on that I think is huge for blue and yellow is that being able to have that mobility means that they get to draw or +1 so much more than other decks.
Yeah.
If you need to drop 2 neutrals to advance land, to get your special land up aggressively, to do whatever you need to do, or you need a special land every single turn, you're behind already. You're already losing just by having to play the lands that you're playing.
That's true.
I'm gonna throw a quick, just because there's some discussion of nerfing Prophet stats instead of something around the movement. What about buffing Prophet stats and making it just move 1, similar to Sunken Tower? And because Prophet's the only thing that moves a land twice currently. We have Sunken Tower as the structure. We have whatever the event is called, Shifting Tides. That's the one. But what if Prophet was just move a land once and have it as a 3/3 or even just a 2/2 and give it jump and put into the synergy of the deck?
I actually don't look at Prophet as a strong card. Like there's some pro players that disagree with me here, but even in my testing, Prophet of Tides adds a weakness to the deck. I don't want it changed because of balance. I want it changed because of the effect it will have on the game. Like I think it will make the game more enjoyable, because currently, whether it wins you a higher percentage of games or not, it does often decide games turn 3. If you do have it line up well. Now, how often it lines up well is a different factor. I think it's not high enough to merit playing it, but the fact that it does decide games turn 3, where you have the warrior, it gets profited too, and then you kill a warrior, I think that's why I want it nerfed.
Yeah.
So slowing down the snowball stuff then.
I was going to say too, because Prophet does have the downside that if you draw it late, it does nothing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if your enemy has Ground Shaker or Falcon Dive or Flame Spitter, like
You
there's a
lose
lot
it
of
anyway.
counter cards. And I think I like your idea or your suggestion, sorry, of having it move only one land, because that is sort of the same fix. Rather than making it 3 lake, you make it only move one land, and then it's Shifting Tide that's already in the game, the Sunken Tower. Like moving one land is significantly less than moving 2.
Yeah.
So
Moving
I like
two
that.
is
It's kind of
huge.
like the Horsemaster change, having it only charge 2
Yeah.
instead of charge 3. I like it.
Yeah. I honestly think that, like, when it comes to things that you play out of hand that allows you to move things, which I guess is what we're calling movement tricks, having anything like that give charge 3 or... Yeah, let's just say start there. Anything gives charge 3, that's just so big that I think it shouldn't exist in the game with the current board size. I really think it should be maximum of move 2. And when it comes to blue and the Prophet, I mean, yeah, so blue has all these jump creatures, which already reach like 2 hexagons. And you then move a land twice. It's basically the same effect as charge 3. Heck, it could even be compared to charge 4, even like in some situations, which is insane. So, you know, and you see this even if you don't have Prophet, like a Sunken Tower most often or a Shifting Tide does well enough. Right, and if you get a Prophet, you might be like, "Fuck yeah!" you know, like it's even even so much better because of the move land twice. That the suggested nerf to make it just move 1 just feels, yeah. Let's try that out then. Like it sounds great. It sounds good. I think I still would play it in those decks, right?
Well, and then it opens up your options. You can either play that and play the creature on the board, or if you want more spells in the deck, you can play the other options, or you can play the tower where you get to move. If it stays alive, you get to move 3 lands or 1 land 3 times. Like it opens up your options to differentiate between what you want to run instead of being like, well, this one's move 2, so it's in my deck. Here we go.
That's a big thing to it, right? Is like, Tower did have kind of a brief stint back in, I think it was just before the Triton Trainer came out into that type of deck. But Prophet is move 2 instead of move 1, which makes it better in almost every case, even if you're playing against red and that easy clear of the 3/1 body is there. It's just, okay, I'm going to move 2 lands because if it's early in the game, that 2 is better than moving 1 every single time.
Yep, it's only 3 Faeria. Like what's
and
the
you're going to
downside?
collect twice usually, so
And
it's
you have to kill it. Like now you have to kill my 3/1. I'll take that trade.
I don't. So a person. Well, I don't know how people feel about announcing who says what, but so a question from Twitch is that everyone has problems with creatures with mobility gifts and not creatures that have mobility themselves. And the answer to that is that we're talking about mobility gifts or mobility tricks, because that is what we see being very, very strong in the current meta. Creatures with mobility is not the issue that we're discussing. That's a whole different topic, and at least from what I think, the meta isn't dominated by the fact that certain creatures have mobility themselves. I mean, sure, it's part of the synergy of blue with the movement and jump, but that's kind of what characterizes blue is all the toads and all the jump, right? So it would be weird if we were here debating whether blue should have jump or not.
yeah. On that point, to clarify, if your opponent drops a Triton Warrior next to their well, you can drop creatures on the opposite side. You can retreat. You can play around the known jump factor.
Yeah, you see,
not
like,
gonna
oh, here's the
suddenly get
thing
caught
that
off
can
guard.
move the next turn. Like,
But-
it's not an instant trick.
Yeah, but when there's that 4/4 on the board and you drop a 3/4 on the opposite side because you think it's safe, and then Prophet of Tides moves it into the middle and then it jumps and kills it. It's the Prophet of Tides that was the issue, not the fact that it was a jump creature, because you could have played around the jump creature originally.
Yeah.
Good points.
I was going to say to switch over onto the yellow in the same way. I really like the extra movement late in the game because you can have all of these really cool plays from one player with, you know, a charger and then a flash wind, a fanatic, and you get this really good clear and you get this big swing in the game because of those extra movement. But it's just so early in the game that it's able to come down right now, and it's just such a big factor in the opening turns that you gain board control and gain such a big advantage so early right now.
I feel like a lot of games could be decided in the early game, especially with just those tricks. Just having a movement trick that you can't necessarily play around it's not only just not fun, but it's just not fair. I mean, I don't really want to say that, but
Yeah, and Lou mentioned archers as well, and archers are the same issue in my book, is when you have a ranged creature that can be moved uncontrollably by movement tricks to kill the enemy creatures, like that just snowballs, and that's kind of ridiculous because the opponent can't play around that. If they drop a creature on the well and it's not within the line of Archer shooting it, and then Archer gets flash run, kills it, it's like, oh, okay, that wasn't fun. So
and-
I feel like ranged units should be on the same restriction. Where ranged, if they decide to keep it in the game, I think they should get rid of it. But if they decide to keep it in the game, I think it should have a higher land requirement. It should be like a 3 desert, 4 desert for these ranged units, or in the case of like Red Flamethrower. Red Flamethrower was already balanced in that sense where it's 3 mountains, right? We don't see it coming down as this super oppressive card because it is 3 mountains. So it's not extremely frustrating to play against, whereas Archer's 2 deserts, it comes down right away, and then movement trick to kill your creature, and they just win.
Did we just stumble upon a new topic, which is whether ranged should exist or not in Faeria? Unfortunately,
There was a big discussion about it in Balance earlier today.
Oh,
I'm sure
today?
it kind of stemmed from other discussions around it as well, but
it's one of those things
I
that
saw a big thing on it today.
it's one of those things where ranged is in the game, and I don't think it's ever going to be removed.
Yeah,
Ever-
I like it as a mechanic, but it's so tough right now to be, okay, how do we make it work properly?
Yeah, ever since the Archer Zealous deck was discovered, where you could run just 3 Archers, 3 Sagittarius, 3 Prayer, and then run Crusader, ever since that was discovered, I've hated ranged, because it just leads to that oppressive deck, and like every time I stream and someone asks me about it, I say I hate ranged, so this isn't new to me, but lately with Pew Pew getting popular and everyone playing the blue-yellow events, a lot of people are starting to catch on that how frustrating it is to play against it.
But isn't that more with the Archer and then the movement synergy than ranged? Because if ranged just exists in the singular sense of here's a ranged creature, you know exactly how to play around it, I think that's reasonable. But it's the extra movement still, where you can move your ranged into better positions. That's why we don't see red ranged pretty much at all. You don't see Boulder Thrower, you don't see Flamethrower, you don't see we don't talk about Volcanic Colossus, but you don't see red ranged creatures being played at all, because if you're playing them, it takes so long to develop not only those creatures but then into yellow or into blue to get your extra movement so that you can actually use them efficiently.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's that they have 2 avenues they can go with range. They can make it so that movement tricks deny it from being able to shoot because you moved with it, or they can just increase the land requirement. I think increasing the land requirement would work satisfactory for me, but I'd prefer your suggestion where if you use a movement trick, you just can't shoot. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay, I actually did miss like those exact words, but I was gonna say the thing with the ranged to me is that, and what I dislike with the yellow one, like, so ranged. Okay, I think this is like a thing of how Faeria works, mechanics and such. Like, so a ranged creature can shoot, but you can't move it and shoot. Like, you can't move and attack with a ranged creature. Everybody knows that who plays Faeria now. But using movement tricks like Flash Wind or Fanatics apparently means you didn't move it. Like, somehow that, which is strange. I remember when the first Pew Pew came around. I was like, I remember just being like, wait, so how does this work? Like, I just remember some instance where I'm like, I have a flash wind, I have a ranged. Can it shoot after I move it? Like, I remember just asking Twitch chat because I was streaming. Like, I was just like, you know, because I felt like I know it says here in the tooltip, if a ranged unit moves, it can't attack. Why doesn't flash wind count as a move? It just gives me that additional move. Like, that's, you know, I feel like that should be changed, for example. Even I don't care whether it kills ranged or not, or whatever it does to ranged. Like, we have ranged, it's what it is, but if ranged can't move and shoot, using Fnatic flash wind, for example, like, that is a move to me, and I think it's weird that they can then shoot. That's my take on it.
Yeah. It also bugs me that ranged can't move into melee range and still attack, but
which is also
Yeah, that bugged me
that's a
yesterday.
whole thing too. Yeah.
you basically have to consider that ranged, like, every creature basically is coded, if it attacks, it can't move after, but
Yeah.
ranged is like, if it moves, it can't attack after. So it's just like, it just bothers me so much that even if it moves into melee range, it can't attack. Even though if it starts in melee range, it can still attack. Like, yeah, it bugs me that, but
It would
It's-
still
it's
work
tough
with shifting
because-
tide. Okay, yeah, no, like, in my brain, when I look at the board, if I move the land it's standing on, the creature didn't fucking move, alright? So that should be, I would be fine with that. Like, again, I didn't move the creature, did I now?
See,
Did
and
it walk?
That's
No,
actually,
did the
that's actually
feet leave the-
restricted as well.
Did the feet
Right.
leave the tide?
Yeah, and that's restricted as you get later and later into the game. You actually can't use shifting tide to move in your range in the right ways.
It's
Sometimes
only good early.
flash wind, you can pretty much always use it, and especially if you use like something like Kaleem's training to give it flying. Well, now it can go wherever it wants and kill anything for free. And Remora said a good thing on it there of how swingy ranged is, because really ranged creatures you have to get the most value out of, and when you do, you basically get free clears. And if you don't, you lose a bunch of value. So it's very swingy mechanic, ranged. But yeah, like something like shifting tide. So the flash wind of moving the creature versus shifting tide moving the land, I think is okay as well, because your land is restricted later and later on into the game. Sometimes even early in the game, you can't move it in the exact right ways with just land movement.
I mean, so, okay, I feel ranged is such a mechanic that new player, like, okay, I might get back, like, I'm hoping this is the case, because I don't know the tooltips anymore. I'm played so long, I never read them. I don't know what they say even. I have no idea. They could change the tooltips to be like, you suck, like, and I would be like, oh, the tooltip, like, I don't read them, I wouldn't notice. But, so yeah, when new players go like, ranged, that seems OP, usually, I wonder how many go like, what? His ranged unit fired back at me, what? Like, the fact they fired back and stuff like that, like, I'm not sure how clear that is in the game for new players. I bet there's a what the fuck moment for every new player who plays ranged versus ranged at any point.
Yeah, the combat mechanics were a little strange when I met my first couple of matches like that. Even like the combat creatures, I was like, okay, like playing red or something, and they swing into it. I'm like, all right, obviously it can't attack back. It's not ranged, but like, it didn't enter combat. Like, it was fired upon. Like, it was like an enemy attacked it. That is combat. Like, it doesn't get more combat than that. It should trigger whatever combat ability just happened. Like, come on, can't be. You can't get that much of a win.
Yeah, I
There's
see
still
what you mean.
a couple of mechanics that are a little bit. You have to play, see it, and then you're like, oh, okay, so that's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like, well, on the topic of range, like, when they introduced Sagittarius, I feel like Sagittarius was accomplishing the type of ranged mechanic that would be good for the game, like giving Yellow Rush this ability to poke and force the enemy to counterattack. Like, I thought that was an awesome mechanic to introduce to the game. It was too oppressive at one desert because it just came down immediately and just started shooting. But I feel like if they rebalanced the game so that Crusader was actually a ranged unit, that would be really cool. Like, get rid of these archers and stuff they have that's actually just used in control decks. Just make it so that when you're playing Yellow Rush and you're hitting face, etc., your endgame creature is a creature you play back and start shooting your enemy. That way it forces them to start counterattacking and forces them into being more active with the board rather than just sitting next to their wells and AFKing.
I actually kind of like the same sort of situation for Firebringer, because if you, or sorry, not Firebringer, Flamethrower, you play that creature, it's the here, deal with it, or I'm going to AoE all of your other creatures as well as pushing orb damage. And I think that's another good one that can be okay, right? Because it forces your opponent to deal with it right away in the same way.
Yeah. I think the important thing to focus on here is that Capu wants to buff Yellow Rush.
That's because he plays Yellow Rush like nobody else. He plays a 4/4 Crusader in the middle
We
of the board to fight your
drafted a
creatures.
Yellow Rush in Pandora, me and Capu, so he was coaching me, and we went 9 wins with it. I'm like,
Oh my
I would
God.
never be able to do that. I'm like,
I
how did this
forget
happen?
who it was, but I think it was Lou said in my chat or something like Capco's face more with yellow control decks than he does with Yellow Rush.
Yeah, all right. So, okay, how are we? Are we at all like? I mean, this has been back and forth talking about the meta, things like the game. I don't even know where we are anymore.
We're waiting on a balance patch. That's what we're. That's
we're
where
waiting on a
at.
balance patch, and we're hoping the devs are listening to some of the things we say, and then it will be interesting. And then the next balance patch comes, and we'll see whether they listened at all to us or they came up with their own solutions, and then we'll be here a few weeks later going like, you know what, they should do this, they should do that. It's an ever ongoing thing. But yeah, did I say that that. Can there ever be a meta where we're like, oh, please don't change anything? Is that like, I mean, that's a, what do you call it? That's like a utopia or something like that, right? Like, there's always gonna be something.
Even though red midrange restricted a lot of decks from existing, like it was a really oppressive deck, I feel like when red midrange, blue sevens, and green yellow sack were the 3 meta picks, like that meta, I loved playing, and it was my favorite meta of all of them.
Okay.
Yellow Rush was strong at the time, but it was hard countered by sack, and like blue was decent against it, so you didn't really see Yellow Rush, but it was strong enough to definitely get played. So that was my favorite meta.
I think we continue to each meta have more and more decks open up to be playable. I don't think they're competitively at quite a level as some of the big things, but right now we're in kind of a big 5-ish of like red green, blue jump, yellow events, green yellow sack, red yellow burn. I think are probably the big 5 that we're expecting to see 90% represented in the monthly cup coming up. And again, that's competitive versus ladder, but on ladder, I think there are so many more possibilities of things that you can play, as well as individual tech choices within each of the decks. So I think that's one thing that I hope continues, is that we continue to see that more and more options are available for play, not just, well, I can't play this because I lose every single game on ladder.
We do have. See how easy it is to make to fill up an episode with conversation. And I don't know, like we did manage to get 5 people on here, so obviously it adds up. Which is, I guess, still part under the umbrella of the meta, the balance and such. We did write down whether is it okay that Crackthorn is considered a top tier deck. Is that okay? I think it's Cap who has some opinion on the effect of the card, like the type, because I think this could even be a topic called which RNG is good and which RNG is bad. Like, which type of RNG do you like or prefer? Like, that's definitely a topic as well. If you guys want to touch on that.
Yeah, I think we actually touched on this when Lou was on the panel as well.
We touched on this many times. RNG never gets old.
Yeah, Crackthorn and Hellfire RNG. It's not RNG that you can play around. It's RNG that you can expect like different results, and you can try and play around to the best of your ability, but it's not RNG that once it happens, you have options still with that RNG. Whereas a card like Spiral, for instance, you get 2 cards, and then you can choose what to do with those 2 cards. Even though that you had the RNG, it's still controllable with what you do with that RNG. whereas Hellfire there's no control. So one of the ideas that I was posing as a suggestion, but I don't know if it's programmable in a way, was that you have Hellfire roll different numbers. So it'll roll a 3 and a 4, and then you can allocate 3 damage to this or 4 damage to this.
Huh, interesting.
Or it would roll like
idea.
2, 2, 3, and then you can allocate 2 here, and 3 there. And so that's how it works. It's still RNG in getting different number sets, but then you get to choose where the number sets go. And that would be good RNG, I think, is it's still random, but then you have control over that. As it stands, I think Hellfire and Crackthorn, with how uncontrollable it is, it's just really bad. It sucks that this is deciding games.
Yeah.
I think, just looking at the way they are now, I think then you turn both those cards into burn cards. Because when I think about Hellfire and Crackthorns with the option to just allocate to face, I could just allocate to face like every time.
Well,
I
It did
think
so much damage.
It has to
It could be
go.
balanced to only hit creatures, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I when you said this now, like I don't know if you said this to me at any time because we talked about Crackthorn. I remember whether it was a good or a bad card. I remember I said I thought it was a good card, and it would be really interesting if Crackthorn was a card that you play like. I'm not even going to talk about which numbers it should have, but whether it was like play Crackthorn, decide where the damage go, decide where the buff goes, right? And again, there you could maybe make it so that the damage might not go to face, but also maybe it shouldn't be 4. Like whatever the damage and the buff is, make it so that you actually decide where it goes and it's not random where it goes. I don't know if that's better design, but I mean, I've experienced enough games, I guess, to at least be of the opinion that Hellfire and Crackthorn are 2 cards that are really strange because they're so goddamn RNG. Like it is because I like what Kappa, I think, is a very smart individual that definitely could help Abrakam design this game, because at least from when he speaks about a lot of things, I feel, which I don't think about when I just blur words out of my mouth sometimes. I don't think about like how you can make RNG controllable, or and how it's different to have RNG that is total RNG, no control, and then you have, here you get to decide what to do with things. Like, I, like a year from now, or a year back, I would consider like Spellwhirl and Hellfire to basically be in the same bracket of RNG. Like I would be like, it's RNG, like fuck. But I understand now after playing so much more and talking with people that Spellwhirl, I just loved how he said it. Like Spellwhirl, yeah, you get 2 random cards, you have no idea what you get, but then you make a decision on what to do with those cards. And I like that a lot more than like, Hellfire, it's like just rolling the die and be like, hopefully it hits where I want it to hit. It's so different.
I actually want to quickly shout out Zaldan's idea, and this makes more sense for Hellfire to me personally. It's like, if Hellfire worked like Meteor in the sense that you choose the 9 tiles, like Meteor does, and then it randomly deals damage in those 9 tiles. So that's still a way of control over RNG, because you can choose
9
which
tiles.
set of creatures.
It's like how often is there 9 creatures to pick?
Then you lose, right? You either have to pick, do I kill a 7/5 and lose 4 damage? Do I push 9 damage to the orb? Like, you end up in situations where you can actually use the board and play around it. Similar to what we saw in the Slam meta of you have to now spread out your creatures in a proper way.
I actually don't
really
know how
like
many.
that.
I don't know how many tiles it is that surrounds the middle tile. Like, is it 7?
Oh, you're talking like
I think
Meteor.
seven.
Oh,
It'd
you're
be
talking.
seven.
It'd be the center and then the 6 around it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're
so it's a
you're
circle.
talking like that. I thought you would
Yeah.
select 9 different tiles. You meant like that tile and that tile and that. I was like,
God.
what?
No, just like Meteor. So you choose the tile
Okay.
and then that tile and all the ones around it, so 7 in total.
Okay.
And then Hellfire would deal randomly within that set of tiles 9 damage. So if there's
And
only 1
that's-
creature in that set, it's 9 damage to that creature.
I see.
And that's so cool, because then it feels like you're playing a board game. It doesn't feel like you're
Yeah.
playing
Yeah, it
a card
actually
game.
feels
it
like a
feels like you're
Hellfire.
playing.
Right. Okay,
Oh, that's
that
cool.
idea is great. Put that in a envelope and
Well,
send
it's
it to
genius, that's-
Abrakam, Belgium somewhere. that I like.
Now, that would buff the creature or buff the card a little bit, I think. So it would have to be nerfed
Again,
a little bit after
again,
that change.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You can do the same thing with Crackthorn in a way too, where either he buffs and damages before he dashes or afterward, but then he hits the area around him. So then you're like, okay, do I go buff my friendly creatures? Do I dash in and hit the enemy? Like then you're interacting with the board again.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
actually affects an area and not just the board.
Hey, Lou
definitely
says,
right.
to be honest, just remove all RNG ticks. Or pings, whatever you want to call it. Then we don't need these discussions. But wouldn't that make Ignis unplayable?
Yeah, that
It's
was
already unplayable.
but,
Yeah, that was okay. Yeah, so for those watching, Ignis is not played.
I still play Ignis.
I know it's your avatar, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not-
it's one games.
I love it. I love it. I do like Ignis though. I actually like him, but it's again like I can see how the RNG of Hellfire, Ignis, Crackthorn are basically problematic though. I can see that, but I am the guy obviously on the level where I'm like, oh, I can play Ignis and +1. It's funny, but
that's why I like Magda and Spiral. Like I love having these cards where it's like you can see what happens, but at the same time, like my inner gamer sense is like, this is terrible. This is RNG. Don't have this. And so I think like adding cards to your hand is a compromise. It's like at least there's still some merit of control, but yeah, with the other ones there's just no
hey,
control.
wouldn't chess...
Especially in terms of Spell World, you don't really lose anything. If you draw into Aurora's Dream and you're never going to be able to play that based on the deck you're playing, the only thing you lose is a card slot in your hand. You didn't lose anything by playing Spell Whirl. It's kind of why Bloom Sprite is played so much as well, right? Most of the time you get a card that you can play, and even if you don't lose anything really. You lost that creature on board, which usually you're playing green yellow sack, so you used it towards your sacrifice anyway. So you're comfortable with that positioning. So yeah, I mean something like that is the RNG that I like in the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can we go back to Crackthorn for a second?
I did spell. What?
Can we go back to Crackthorn for a second? What do you guys think about making Crackthorn targetable? Like maybe nerfing the damage, and instead of making it random pings, just it either does it's a +3/+3 buff maybe for a little bit more Faeria, or make it 2, like a +2/+2 buff and then a 2 damage targetable. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's what I said basically, right?
Yeah.
Was that you would
That was
decide...
discussed quite a bit, of making it a solid just one number instead of the random pings, which was what seemed like it should happen, right? I mean, it reduces the RNG factor. You can get exactly what you want. Sometimes it's not enough and your buff doesn't end up working the right way, or sometimes it's too much, right? And you lose some value on the damage, for example. But that's probably, so that I should say that's something that was discussed quite a bit as a possibility, but just never ended up happening.
Yeah, I mean exactly what Scorch said. I agree. It's having stable numbers I would much prefer as a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even just make it one damage to everything +1/1 to all your creatures. In some situations, that's broken.
Mm-hmm.
If your Crackthorn is the only thing on board, that's really bad. So like you have these situations where you have really good outcomes. 4 damage onto one creature currently for Crackthorn is really good outcome usually. And you have situations where it's really bad, where like the RNG that we're seeing currently, it misses sometimes. So you do have situations where it's good, and it does have downsides as well.
Whose suggestion was that? I thought I briefly heard someone mention that you can make it adjacent, and I kind of like that idea of have it so that when you play Crackthorn, it deals like 2 set damage to all adjacent enemies and buffs +1/+1 to all friendly creatures. But that seems really cool to me.
Yeah.
That was a cool idea, actually. Yeah, we just need to lessen these RNG pings. That is especially like buffs as well, I guess, but especially like I feel the biggest issue is damage. But like Hellfire and Crackthorn, then with the damage, where it can go anywhere on the board, like anywhere, and even at your enemy. It's kind of it's not that good. Like I must say I enjoyed when Hellfire came out and we all played, OTK Hellfire. It was fun, but it was obviously the most broken fucking meta that we had. Like it's still, and obviously they fixed it ASAP. But because Hellfire was 10 damage when it came out, so people figured out a way to board clear, and then you play 2 Hellfire and OTK. Because you went to face, right? So it was fun. Good times. No,
Good
like
time.
I missed the Majnik Lord of Terror deck.
Oh, that was
Oh
so
my
fun.
god, the Lord of Terror burn, the blue-red? No.
Yes.
Bring it back,
It's
bring
my
it back.
favorite deck.
No.
I love it when we talk about old stupid thing like Nat meta. Like we've had like it's like new players who came after launch. They have no idea the wild west we had, which was early access. Like here's a cool
really-
card, and we're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And it was called Not, so it was.
I mean, that was really cool if you were the one playing it.
Yeah. The devs
very
took
cool to
full
play against.
advantage of early access to really test broken things and get it to at least a decent spot. But
I'm not complaining that they did though. I'm happy they were brave to do it. Whether it then you can go all political and be like, did it hurt the player base? Did it hurt the game? I fucking don't know. It was early access. They did what they wanted, and some of the good things we have now is probably because of it anyway. So yeah, I don't think it's. I like the fact they did it. At least looking back at it, I can be like, that was funny. Even though sometimes during it was like, holy shit, please patch in 1 hour, please patch in 1 hour.
I guess to loop in,
Yes.
just because we've covered like all of the other parts except for this one,
Please,
is
okay.
legendaries in the colors right now are all getting buffed. Like Cypher got buffed.
yeah,
Mythmaker
no
didn't, but it's
reason.
already been a power one. Kaleem's
It's
been
all-
a power one. I imagine if they buff green, then it's going to be a monster to deal with. So what do you guys think about making them one more land requirement so that these busted legendaries at least aren't seen in the early turns deciding games? So like make Cypher 3 mountain, make Kaleem 3
How
desert,
many-
that way they're not splashed.
But how many lands requirements should Magda have then? Is it?
Well,
No, Magda's fine.
yeah, make them.
Yeah,
Oh,
Magda's fine.
no, I gotta make the joke. Can it be like 10 neutrals or something?
No.
But yeah, like Cypher got buffed to being 5 Faeria now, and so it's like played in basically every red deck, and it is so I want to say silly in the sense that it just decides games on if it grows. Like you see the green red mirror, one person dropped Cypher, they had a buff for it, they just won the game.
Yeah.
And it's because it was only 2 mountains and then 2 forests to buff it.
But doesn't every
And
other
so
color has a way to deal with though? Blue has Frogify, yellow has Last Nightmare, and green has Voice of Truth.
Yeah, but that's if you hit Voice of Truth at the right time. Like in
Yeah.
a situation where you can voice.
Yeah,
it and
but
your
but
creature to
Cypher's
clear,
just
right?
one
Like,
card
But
in that deck as well.
The issue though with that is if Cypher kills a creature and grows and then you use removal on it, he still got more value than you did because
Yeah, okay.
he killed your creature, grew, and then you used another card. And so what ends up happening is his like 7 Faeria that then denied you from collecting because he buffed it. You then use Last Nightmare and he already killed your Charger, so you've lost 9 Faeria compared to his 7 Faeria, but he got to collect with it. So it's
And that-
losing lines to even have the best answer.
Yeah. That's where you
I mean-
see like the Horsemaster Cypher combo too.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, that's so terrifying. You're on turn 2, turn 3, and all of a sudden your collector's dead and they have a buff Cypher. You're like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah. I mean, this ties in really well with the movement restriction as well. Is
How many lands
these
does
cards
Cypher need? Is it
just-
2?
2.
yeah,
2, yeah. He's cheap.
yeah. Right now, all the power legendaries are 2 land requirement, and by making them 3 land requirement, it ties into the movement stuff. Games won't get decided early on. It'll be a little
Yeah.
bit into the mid game where you start to see these
And-
combat tricks. You start to see these power legendaries, and I think that makes the game a lot more fun.
I like the idea.
And-
I like that idea.
And they're legendaries anyway. They're 1 card in your 30-card deck that's supposed to have this big effect. And if that effect is not designed to be in the early game, then there's no harm whatsoever in pushing it back. Like Magda, if you get her off on turn 1 or turn 2, like that's cool and everything, and you can play into it or
Well-
whatever. But like Cypher doesn't have like this effect where you're like, man, if I get them off on turn 2 versus turn 3, like it feels totally different. Like I think it just feels better to push them all back because you're going to play them eventually in the game anyways, and they're still going to have that awesome effect.
Yeah, I feel like as well, if you push back the legendaries land requirements, you can also push their stats. And so you can have legendaries now not be bad cards. Like, you look at Runen, you look at Krog, you look at Magnus. Well, Magnus is hit and miss sometimes. Some metas like him. But you look at Tarim. All of these cards are just terrible. But if you make them high land requirements, you can add cool effects, or you can make them pushed in their stat line, and then it's cards that people want to craft. They like the legendaries. It's fun. And it's okay because it's not early on deciding games. So make, for example, well, actually, Tarim already is 5 force with a cool effect. So more cards like Tarim legendaries would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as Cypher goes, I don't really know what to do with that. Just because, like you're saying, especially at 5 Faeria, even just pushing him to 6, then you don't feel bad for Last Nightmare. Last Nightmare, you still lose 1 Faeria, and that's if Cypher hasn't collected or killed anything. So even just to push him to 6, I think you're still comfortable using removal on at fair value. But Kaleem right now is the strongest turn 2 play that Yellow can have, because you either go for your opponent's collector, go off to the far side and outvalue them with double collecting, or you loop around and go for the orb. Like it's an incredibly strong turn 2 just because of the flying. It opens up so many things. Aurora does the same thing. You have your jump creature. You either trade and then buff that creature up to a 6/6, or you buff it up to a 6/6 and trade, and now you've essentially double traded with that creature because you're going to trade into something else afterwards. And even just moving that 1 land requirement, I think, is really good because that gives your opponent the extra turn to either set up or to have some form of like reaction coming down afterwards.
All right.
Any disagreements?
So actually, do you think Kaleem can still be played for a 3 affinity? Like, I feel like I wouldn't even play Kaleem at 3 affinity anymore. Just, I mean, maybe getting her early, maybe it would be
Wait, you're
good,
calling
but I
him
mean,
a her now?
I don't know what it is.
Dude, he's the Sky Prodigy.
Every time we talk about it, he does the same thing. He confuses me.
By the way,
Kaleem
you know, Shadee, my roommate. I like her.
She's great.
You know, Aurora's an old lady, not an old man, just by the way.
Are you sure about that?
Our internals, like, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
But on that point, from my knowledge of cards, I think I would still run it, and I would still think it's an incredibly strong card, even at 3 Desert.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think
I just want to say
I would
about
say
Magda.
one issue. I don't know if it's as much of an issue as kind of going to make the point, but I think an issue of pushing it into those later land requirements is then sometimes you end up encouraging rush a little more because you have less and less options for things that you can go for on turn 1, on turn 2. And sometimes maybe you have to play a little more inefficiently, putting in a couple neutral cards or something earlier. You know, maybe that ends up being yellow. We see like Keldrin Soldier come in, which is a card that just isn't played at all, just for something to play on turn 1 or turn 2, just to get something out onto the board. Because as you push more and more of your early plays to, instead of turn 2, you're now on turn 3, or instead of turn 3, you're now on turn 4, rush becomes more and more prevalent because it can get at you on turn 2 or turn 3 before you've even played anything.
Yeah, but at the same point, I feel like if they do push these cards to higher land requirements, they can look at adding in more power cards like Tharian Golem, where once you do get to that 5 force, you drop a 5/10, and then that will help you at least fight back onto the board.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, decks can always just put in more early game. There's plenty of early game strong cards against Rush. I see your point, definitely. Like, when Mistral Guide came out, there was people trying out Mistral Guide and Windborn Champion, but the problem was whenever they had a starting hand with both of those, they couldn't do anything, and it sucked to play. So there's definitely that negative aspect. I don't think it is as bad as putting off this as an idea.
And when you push the land requirements as well, you connect that again to the power wheel, where the more times you have to play land, the less you're drawing. You're not just double drawing every turn after turn 2 until you need to put down that third land or something like that. Like, you actually start interacting with the board again, and putting land down.
I wanted to say about Magda, I don't know where we are right now, but I wanted to say about Magda that I want to know how many people have actually played Magda, like, because you can play her turn 1, isn't it? She just 3, Faeria? So
Yeah.
you
I think she's 4, isn't it?
okay, so turn 2 then, sorry. All right.
You need to explore.
Yeah, alright, turn 1 if
Turn
you're
1
second.
is player 2.
Yeah, okay. Well, my question is this, how many have played Magda turn 1 and then won the game? Because usually what will happen is that you have no special lands, and you know, you're so depending on which type of legendaries you start getting that you might either get and you get flooded, right? You start getting 2 cards each turn. Soon you're sitting on a 9 cards. You start burning cards and shit, and you're trying to get the specific special lands down to play these legendaries you're getting in your hand, and you just end up not winning. Like, because legendaries in the game isn't like, I mean, okay, some of them are crazy good, but I'm not like, Magda is definitely not a turn 1 auto win. Like, usually she will be better if you get her, I don't know, a few turns in. Yeah, because I've actually had quite a few games where I played fun stuff like that, where Magda has showed up turn 1, and I'm gonna say I'm like 50-50 on the win there, if not even less.
Yeah, I remember I played Magda actually in one of the ESL Cups I won, and it was so trolling my mono red, and I had it come down like, it was turn 2, I think. I was like mountain, or double land to the sides, and then mountain drop Magda, and it ended up filling my hand and cost me the game because my hand was full and I couldn't draw into my good cards.
Oh, exactly.
Like, no, not like this.
Exactly. No, that's the thing.
At the same time,
okay.
If you get Magda into Magda, and then you're just playing everything for free, it is so broken.
Yeah, I know, and but that's the thing. Like, okay, I'm not. I see chat already is going like don't make Magda good. Like, no, I'm not asking. Like, I'm just saying, like, she's not good, but I'm happy where she is. She's a gimmicky, fun legendary that you can have some fun with, and she needs no buff. She needs no nerf. Some new players come into the game, they go like, Magda is broken, it's so OP, and it's like, oh, you just started playing, haven't you? It's like they haven't seen it. You know, they've seen one game.
Yeah, I think from previous games, like, a lot of people come in and they look at card draw as a broken mechanic. They look at Lorth even like, oh my god, draw 2 cards, that's insane. or they look at like Spiral as generating 2 cards. Now I actually think Spiral and Lorthief are like decent cards, but it's not nearly as strong as the players that come into this game think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly because they come from Hearthstone, where drawing cards is like the ultimate way to win. Is just draw cards or
Card
generate
advantage,
cards and then play. Yep. Just having card advantage is still good. I mean, having card advantage is still good here. It's just not as strong.
You can double draw every turn if you want to, or more.
Card advantage is still good because it gives you more options of things to play, but it's not as impactful just because you can generate more cards every turn just through the action wheel.
Yeah. The action wheel itself is a really cool thing in this game. Obviously, you can't translate that into a pure card game because, what would the action wheel be in a game like Hearthstone? It's like you get 2 options, then draw or get another mana, maybe. Like, that would be it. But
They have the hero power.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sure they do. All right. Okay. Are we done with the meta? You guys feel happy, satisfied?
I'm so done with this meta.
With this meta, yeah. Okay. When's the balance patch coming? That's the next question.
That's why I've been asking for 3 weeks. Where is it?
They need to release the 30 new cards first. That's gonna.
Oh yeah.
They need to see how that shapes the meta.
It's kind of worth mentioning, right? We're all kind of. I mean, we know that there's an expansion in the future with 30 new cards, and that's gonna change things up a lot. Like holy shit, the episodes we're gonna have then. I think that's gonna be season 4 actually.
We'll have a new episode for every single card.
Oh god!
Just start a whole new series.
Oh god. Oh, I can already see, like, when we know the 30 cards we're gonna discuss on the first episode of Season 4 Kappa Council. 10-hour special. With dinner
No breaks.
included.
Come on, 24-hour live stream. Let's go.
I feel Abrakam should just invite whatever the council consists of and have like a 10-hour special
stream
with dinner
right.
included in the office.
We gotta get that. We gotta get a reveal stream. We can
A
put all the
reveal-
cards and talk about them as we go.
You know they're not gonna give us that, but man,
No.
I would love to.
100% they will.
I would love to have that. Like, oh my god.
100% they will not.
I would love that. Atmas, I know we can reveal the brackets of the monthly cup, but you know what would be better? If we could reveal the new cards. Oh my god. Well, who knows? Maybe we can get one card. Maybe one or two. That would be great. I don't know. I like the idea. Alright, so...
Just before we
yes.
fully move, do we, as much as the balance has been kind of wanting, do we like them not doing something between the monthly cup? Because that is now what it kind of seems they're going to do, is use one and then see if the meta changes, and then after the next monthly cup we'll end up with some balance. That's at least what I'm expecting, is whether it's next week or early the week after, we'll see some big patch of changes.
It's
like every 2
literally
months then they're
Wednesday.
doing
Like,
it?
we haven't seen a balance patch yet, and the devs are in Europe, and it's literally gonna be Wednesday when they come into
Yeah.
the office, right? So no, we're not gonna see a balance patch.
Yeah, we won't see anything before
If
cup.
they change anything with the balance before the monthly cup, oh no, that's not gonna be
Panic.
good.
Panic.
Panic. Yeah, no, I don't
Yeah.
think so. I'm basically hoping that next Monday, boom, like I'm hoping they got something planned already, that they're working on. Well, obviously they're working on something, right? But yeah, I'm hoping, because I really want something new to happen. So I'm actually pretty excited to watch the monthly cup, though. I'm already starting to plan in my head that I'm gonna be in the living room watching on my projector and just get a lot of snacks and beers and go and then do a stream afterwards. Maybe be like, yeah,
So-
congratulate Dozer on the win and all that.
In regard to Scorch's question,
mhm.
I like that previously they were doing balance changes just before monthly cup, like a week before, and so good players would quickly analyze the new meta and do some private testing, and then they go into the monthly with like their knowledge of deck building and stuff, and that was really cool. Was it rewarded good deck building skills. But I think it's also nice to switch it up where you do go into monthly cups with, quote unquote, figured out metas. And so, like, I think it's nice to switch it up, and it looks like they've done that.
This is
Yeah,
a whole
I-
different topic, to be honest. Like, in the
Yeah.
sense that I agree with Twitch chat, Remora, for example, who says that, I like to see balance patches come right before the monthly cup, like Friday, that is 8 days before the monthly. Yes, but not like on Wednesday, what is that, 3 days before?
Yeah.
Like, that's just not good. So, I like that idea, but...
And I'm actually against that. I think that if they put out a balance patch, say Monday, so yesterday a balance patch came out, here's a week to figure out the meta of the changes before the monthly cup, that could completely change the way that Faeria is played. It could speed up the meta, it could slow it down, and now you've got people who qualified because they're good in a certain meta who get absolutely destroyed because they're not as good in the other meta. Maybe they're very good in analyzing value plays for a more controlled
I have
meta,
an
but
analogy.
Now you've got
I
now
have
you've
an
got
analogy.
something much quicker in rush or in a much faster mid range, and that player just can't keep up because they don't understand how to play it in that situation, which I think punishes those players even though they had a really good month.
I have an
to
analogy.
qualify.
A lot of people here know hockey. Like, I feel what Scorch is saying is that basically, if you play NHL and you qualify for the Stanley Cup, right? And you've been playing hockey this whole time, right? And the puck is flat, and they're like, guys, in the Stanley Cup, we're gonna play with a ball instead for a puck. Enjoy. And they get those news like 7 days before the first match, like, like I feel like that's basically what happens when they change. I actually almost want to change my mind. I agree with Scorch. I think it's perfectly sane that you qualify in a certain meta, and maybe the monthly cap should play in the same meta
But-
then.
Okay, I definitely agree with Scorch in that sense, but at the same time, there should also be tournaments where, this is a deck building game. Like, you take your cards, you build
Okay,
collections, and
yeah.
you make decks around it. So, like, being versatile, like being able to play with both puck and ball, is actually a benefit you're supposed to have in card games. So I feel like having some tournaments where it rewards good deck building should be a thing, because if you go into every monthly cup in the metas, figure out everyone's playing decks that's known and stuff, there's no like deck building reward in that sense. So I feel like switching it up is good.
Yeah, because then you end up having people who are very good deck builders, but people who are just good players can pick up any net deck and go through a cup realistically. Whereas Change is close to, you have people who can figure out things very quickly and put the right decks together. But yeah, I feel like I'd rather see it play out a season, and then here's the monthly cup. Okay, we know what it is, and then make a balance change.
Lou says monthly cup is not determined for deck building. It should be about highest level Faeria. I honestly think highest level Faeria. We're talking Faeria. So highest level Faeria to me is not just who is the best pilot, but also who is the best at coming up with a deck to beat others' decks. Like, I've said this many times. I think the skill level. There's three different skill sets that goes into playing Faeria well. It is being a good board game player, it is being a good card game player, but it's also being a good deck builder as well. I think there's three skill sets that is important in this game, and you can shine in one of those, and you can be average at all, you can be really good at two. Like, there's just three pure skill sets that differentiate players. There's got to always be, oh, I came up with a perfect deck that in theory is great, and I give it to somebody who's like a great pilot, and he will be better than I will. Like, I feel that can definitely be the case. And if the debate here is, if we talk about that topic, which again I think it's a different topic, is whether we want the monthly cup to be who's the best pilot in a certain meta, or who's the best to adopt to a new meta and come up with a new deck. Like, that's two very different things. And yeah, it's which should we have?
It is interesting. It's interesting because you're absolutely right. It's a lot of different. It is different skills. I think the last time I was on here, actually, I touched on that because I can't build a deck, so I'm terrified of what Capu is suggesting. I don't like it at all, but that's just me personally. Like, I'm sitting here thinking about what would I do if that type of system existed. Like, I would probably just become really good friends with the good deck builders and then talk to them the week before the tournament. But
okay,
no, it is
could you give me a deck, please? I'm in the tournament.
Right? It does test different skills, and I missed who it was in chat, but somebody said, what if there was an actual set schedule for patches where every, like, in 1 month, it's a week before, a week and a half before, whatever, and then the next month, it doesn't change until after the cup, and then it goes before, or something like that. So you have this alternation of, you have a month-long, I don't want to call it stagnation, but where the meta settles, and then in the next cup, you have this where deck builders and people who can do that really shine. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I really like that. But, I mean, I also agree that with the point Scream just made before that, being a top-level player, like knowing how to maneuver and pilot the deck perfectly, that is, like, almost parallel to your deck building, to how you deck build, because when you start piloting your decks and playing it optimally, for instance, like if you're running Falcon Dives and stuff, you're playing your deck with the knowledge of having that Falcon Dive in hand and knowing what it's going to be strong against, how to queue up your decks in a way to maximize efficiency. Like, you want your deck with 3 Falcon Dives to go up against blue that's running 3 Prophets. Like, that knowledge and play skill is hand in hand.
Oh, so you think if you're a good pilot, you actually are a good deck builder?
Yeah, okay. in that sense, kind of. I think the top performers in the monthly cup, even if it is like a week just after a balance patch, I think the best players in general are going to win it regardless.
Okay. Because I think there is a difference in, you know, being good at figuring out what, like, because I can understand what you're saying, which is that a good player will be, you know, the skill and the brain power that they have to look at the cards and, you know, figure out the puzzle on what they need and what is good and what works against what and all that. You know, I still think there will be people that are very good at analyzing cards and figuring them out, but might not be as consistent as when as playing it. I don't know. I do feel there's a difference, like, but maybe it's not as black and white as I make it sound. I often agree with Kappa. I'm not gonna say I agree wholeheartedly there, but yeah, I think
There's
there's a
crossover.
difference. And there's crossover too. Like I say, I think there's you know, just like Faeria is a board game as well, and just like I like to think that we have top players that, let's say, I mean, we have many different top players in Faeria, for example, that they just don't agree on which cards are the best, and, you know, like just that as well comes down to some opinion and stuff like that, and I think that's also a difference, you know, like what you think is the better and what you think is best and what you think is broken, what is the cause of that. People think differently, so I think that's the same thing. All right. Okay.
Okay. So can we sum it up? All right. Movement, 3 land requirements. Legendaries push to 3 land requirements or higher.
No charge 3.
Range needs to be changed so that either movement tricks don't work on it, or you change range to be just different cards entirely, where it's like a finisher type deal, like Yellow Rush hits face, they build up a ranged Zealous, and then the enemy has to deal with that by rushing towards them.
I think the first thing
So,
there, like, I don't think
redesign
ranged
range?
is. I don't think ranged per se. I don't think it's broken per se. I think it's just yellow range that's broken overall, because of the fact that you can move with yellow tricks and attack, and I think range should not attack after they move. And again, it's a difference whether you move the tile or the unit move. Again, Flashwind moves the unit. It's and Fnatic does too. You move the unit. Doesn't it say, like, I'm pretty sure it says you move the unit. It's a moved unit. I don't feel like
So, and then Horsemaster, because there's no land requirement, make it charge 2. That's a solid suggestion.
Yes.
And was there anything else we touched on? Am I forgetting something?
The Crackthorn and Hellfire.
RNG.
Oh,
Yeah.
RNG cards need to be controllable RNG, meaning set amounts of damage, or doing it like what Solden suggested, where Hellfire works by selecting a tile like Meteor, and then all the adjacent creature tiles are affected as well, and it deals a set amount of damage to that area randomly, or, you know, you can have it a different way,
Restricted
but
AoE
controllable.
versus board
Yeah.
AoE. Yeah.
Boom.
And Crackthorn, the idea for that was you drop it and it's adjacent effect.
I
So
like that.
deal like 1 damage, 2 damage
Yeah.
to everything around it, and then buff everything around it by like +1 or something.
That was a
Oh,
good
yeah.
one.
Make everything like adjacent, make the board matter instead of just random.
Yes.
Alright. I think we've summed up balance now.
Jesus Christ.
We fixed the game.
We fixed the game.
It's
Done.
finally playable.
All right. I don't know if we. Okay. So just some lighter topics that's not really gonna be discussed much, or just things that I took from Twitch actually. So it's a bit interactive. Like we do stream this live, and that means that we get, you know, people engage in Twitch chat, and some of the stuff I add, and some of the stuff I actually add, and we will actually not touch. But it will, if it's added to the document, I always copy all the stuff over to the next episode, and it means that it could be touched on in the next episode. One of the things was that somebody said earlier when we talked about early access, you know, the Wild Wild West, and that, you know, now the game is released. Somebody said if you read the Steam forum, you might think that Faeria early access is still a thing, quoting something there. This game is totally broken, and I just realized when I read that I have not read the Steam forums for Faeria. I wonder if I've been there this year. Like, I can't remember. I remember back in the beginning of Early Access, I was actually even active there, which is probably the first time I've been to Steam forums in a game and actually took part. And I even, like, I forgot that they existed. And I can, like, it feels like the Steam forums is like a different world. It's like it's not on this planet. Like, in my brain, it's like, I'm like, because when you go, like, I haven't been there. I have no idea how they look now, but it's a fun comment, and I just know that Steam is a beast of its own, and you know, if you look at games and their reviews and comments and things, you will be like, holy shit, what's going on here? What is this place? And that was the case in Early Access, sure. Like, that was, like, people were very vocal on the Steam forums. I'm just gonna, like, think that if you're the developer, you probably keep an eye on that because it's, you know, part of your game, right? But I would like, I'm part of the world that just don't go to the Steam forums at all. Just like some people probably don't ever go to Reddit. Like, some people don't even know what Reddit is. I've just, you know, in the last couple of years started realizing that Reddit is a thing and started going there, you know, and some people been on Reddit for 10 years, like, something, right? But yeah, and like I said, I don't think this is a topic per se. It's just crazy how things are, and how many places people can discuss things.
And I think the biggest difference here is just showing the level of effort it takes to participate in a community. Like, has an extreme effect on the people that are there. If you're playing Faeria, you already have a Steam account, so anybody and everybody can, and apparently does, go on there and just say whatever they want, which you're not really getting the cream of the crop there. There might be hidden gems, but when you like, Discord's not hard to get into, Reddit's not hard to find and make an account, but you have to do it. And the people who are there and do that want to participate in a community, and that has a way different effect on how you approach what you're saying and how you're talking to other people.
My experience with Steam forums, without criticizing any person or any place like that, but well, I guess that's what I'm about to do though. No, my experience with Steam forums in any and every game that I looked at is that it is insane how toxic it is. Like if you like my experience is that, like, I made a positive comment about another game somewhere on a forum or something, and I was basically attacked by everyone who thought the game was horrible. That was the evil of the earth, and the developers were money scamming. I'm like, but these developers they've been around. Like, it's because it's not fair, right? It was, I just know that it was a game that had, like, they had a track record. It was like the 5th game. They were published by EA. I know people think EA is the devil, but, you know, it was just this thing where, like, if they were money grabbing, scamming, like, they would have, like, a company registered in, like, the, you know, in, like, Russia or something, and be like you would have never heard of them, right? Like, that would, I can understand then if you're, like, but it's like, like, the, you know, these guys, like, there's laws on what you can do. Like, I don't know, like, I might be, like, too trusty of a guy, but it's kind of funny how it feels that Steam forums are, yeah, like, it's so easy to just write something super aggressive, and apparently there's a lot of people out there that does need therapy. That's true. I
have one comment somewhere on the Steam reviews, on one guy's review, where I actually took the time to read it and respond to him in a somewhat intelligent manner. And then the next day I woke up and read the reply, and I was like, why did, like, why did I even bother?
Oh, yeah,
there was literally no reason to do that, and I've never been back there. Like, there's just no point. I mean, left a good review, and then I left.
Yeah, the Steam reviews, I think is not as bad as the Steam forums. Like, like, sure, maybe comments and things, and obviously there's reviews that are stupid, but at least the Steam review fills a purpose on Steam as a marketplace where you buy games. Like, that's you know, so I've done reviews on games when I felt necessary, like Faeria, and yeah, so that's that. Somebody said something good on this topic on Twitch, which was that, you know, obviously for Faeria, why did Twitch chat move? Damn it. Well, basically he said something about, like, the community of Faeria is it's Reddit and it's Discord. I would say Faeria has 4 official forums, but the problem with Faeria and the problem with me, Faeria, and the Faeria official forums is that they launched way after the game hit early access. Like they launched so late that the community was already established on using Reddit and Discord. That once the forums came out, it was like, okay, so what are we supposed to use those for? It was just like everybody was using Discord and Reddit, and you noticed this because the devs started doing like competitions and things where like you have to do the entry on the forums, you know, like they try to get people on there, right? And maybe they're more alive now. Again, I'm really bad at going to those forums as well because they were not around when I got involved with this community. And like I've said before, if you compare Faeria to other games, Faeria has one of the, like, percentage-wise biggest and most active communities on Discord compared to the player size of the player base. Like we're actually insanely huge. You know, the numbers and such on the Faeria Discord compared to other games of equal size. Yeah, it's insane.
I see things pop up on the forums and on Reddit of like just a random question or a random comment or something, and I'm just like, we use Discord. We have a live community right now that can answer your question. Why are you not in there? Like, I see it so frequently. I'm just like, just join the Discord. There's people right here.
Yeah, and even then, because I feel like it's the Discord is even affecting Reddit. I mentioned Reddit, but our Reddit isn't like insanely huge.
No.
Again, our Reddit is kind of big. Again, compared to other games of equal size, because we had no other option than Reddit for more, you know, permanent posting of things. Like it kind of Reddit became the forums in lack of forums. So our Reddit is actually kind of big for, you know, compared to other games of equal size, but even then I think that because Discord's been, you know, there's even a link in the client, like, because Discord has just been so accepted by everyone and the developers and to be the main platform for the community. I like it though, it's cool.
I would have loved to see them just embrace Discord and Reddit as their permanent posting forum place, and then their community. They already have the button for Discord in the game. Put another button for Reddit or a little shout out in the homepage or something like that. Like when they implemented the hub and the forums and everything else, like, in my personal opinion, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And they already basically admitted. They said, hey, we took all your feedback and we're working on it, and they are going to fix it, which is awesome to hear, but not trying to force this thing of having forums there for really no reason. It would have just freed up the resources. They're a small team. Like, focus more on the deck building and articles and stuff like that.
As far as I know, like, as far as I assume, and as far, like, from what I've noted, like, their website, like, obviously they're in power of posting, you know, new articles, post news, Faeria Friday, like blog posts, like all that stuff. But like the actual website and forums might actually be done by an external team. Like, I'm saying it might be, like, in the sense that I don't think they have like I don't think there's any developer on Abrakam team that is like a web developer, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't think they have a pure person working on the site, which is also why, like, because the forums were delayed by huge, like, they had forums and then they're like, oh, we're getting new forums, it's gonna come out, and it went like probably half a year. Like, it went so long, like, people forgot about the fact that they said they were gonna bring out forums again eventually, and they were getting new forums and new software, whatever, right? And that I think is also down to priority. Like, they probably went like, oh, development report, important. We'll get these forums and such done eventually, but it will, we'll hire somebody professional to do it for us. And I like the hub, I like the website as it is, but I think the only thing they should have had on this website and the hub is obviously a comment system, but not like they could totally get rid of the forums, just keep some comment system and stuff. Because I'm really curious what their benefit this. Like, again, if they would have had it in day one, we wouldn't have this discussion. But I think I'm really curious what the benefits of the forums are, other than being just another option, splitting up the community and communication, because they have Reddit and Discord, which we probably all here think is like the two main ones that people go to, and then they have the forums, and maybe the one we mentioned that nobody looks at, which would be the Steam forums. That's 4 splits of communication and things for the community, right? And that's not good. Yeah.
As for the resources, I can't imagine that it was the forum that held them up for like getting the website done. Like the hub was all the work. Adding in the forum section is like just a text
no, the forum.
forum.
The forum
it's
got
really
way.
simple.
The forum we got
Well,
way earlier than the hub. Like, what?
He,
Dozer,
he
you get-
might have kicked his
Dozer.
computer a little bit.
Uh-oh.
He's
All right, well,
powering back up.
fucking up my overlay. Anyway, the hub came much later. The forums came much earlier, and forums is not just text. Forums, like, they've bought a license. There's a whole forum software thing in the back end there. Kappa just disappeared because of this.
Oh, yeah, he's gone.
But whatever, I'm not fixing it. He will come back.
Oh.
It's hilarious. What? That is the best screen capture ever. But yeah, I'm not criticizing them for how they did the forum thing. I mean, maybe I am, but the forums to me feel like when it got that late, if I was in the office making decisions, I would have gone like, guys, it's way too late to launch forums now. We're so deep into Discord and Reddit that launching any type of forum here is stupid. Let's just add a simple comment system which you can use like your Facebook or whatever login that you already have, so you don't need a new account. Or okay, your Abrakam ID account which you make when playing the game, sure, but it should yeah. They didn't need the forums. The forums are unnecessary for the community, but they exist, and I assume a lot of people use them. I actually have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as for it existing, I do agree with you guys completely. Like, it's kind of pointless to have it with the fact that Discord became like the main source of communication, and then we have Reddit. So it's like the hub. It's amazing. The
hub is amazing.
Like, the hub is a huge success. But
Yes.
yeah, the boards aren't really necessary, I guess. I don't know. I don't think it's doing harm though. Do you guys?
No, it's not doing harm.
It's not doing harm other than splitting up. That's all I'm saying. It's just splitting up.
Do you think it actually is splitting up the community?
When I say
don't
the
think
community,
so.
I don't mean that we're losing people to another part or anything. I'm just saying that it's, there's going to be information that just doesn't reach everyone. There's going to be information that just reaches a portion. Like information spread in such a way that if, there we go. If everybody knew, let's just pretend Steam forums didn't exist. Let's pretend Reddit didn't exist. Let's pretend there was only official forums and Discord. And if they didn't have their forums at all and only had Discord, then they would reach so many of their, active community members with information that if they then launched the forums, they would actually... Of course, it's easy to post same information at 2 places, but there's still this... It always is this disconnect where some people, you always lose some people when you have that, split. And now we're theoretically, and I think practically, split in 4 platforms. We have Discord, Reddit, Steam forums, and the official forums. And I think it's at least one too many. The Steam forums is kind of... they can't get rid of them. They exist, right? And as developers say, I hope they do a good job at getting information there. But I just remember that I glanced there once and I was like, it feels like there's some info missing here. I had that feeling that they might actually, with all the platforms, all the places to inform people, it felt at one point in time that it was neglected, but I don't know. I don't know how the responsibilities are now and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, It's one too many.
But do you guys think that there's people that are commenting on the boards that wouldn't otherwise comment? Like, some people don't want to make Reddit accounts. Some people don't want to write on Steam. And so these type of players go to the forum boards because it's just their Faeria account. So
I
do you think removing it would cause more harm than it would do good?
Probably. I mean, there are situations when I see the same things pop up again and again, which it's kind of frustrating in that way, especially people just looking for information on something, whether it's a mechanic, whether it's information about how a card works or some balanced discussion on how a card works. I don't. I think if the forums didn't exist, it probably encourages more people to join Discord, which I think is a good thing. But I think it could discourage people from doing anything just because they don't want to create a Reddit or they don't want to create a Discord or don't want to create another account. Whereas the forums does just use your Abrakam ID and you can log in very easily into there. So I think that is a good point of why it does serve a purpose.
Yeah, and you know, it's I can understand, like, hey, we're a game developer. Every game developer has official forums, don't they? Like, you know, they'll be like, hey, we need one too. It's you know, I don't know. Like, this is also one of those topics in discussions where I think I don't think there's either like a right or wrong. It's a lot of gray areas, and it's very down to how you want to communicate as a organization and things like that. Obviously, a forum and Reddit both have the... I think forum wins over Reddit when it comes to how you organize posts, obviously, because of how Reddit is, like, you know, you upvote, you downvote, and things kind of move around there. There's no categorizing. But, you know, and Discord is like a live chat. Like, even though you can scroll back, it doesn't stick as well, right? So, yeah, it's... interesting topic. I didn't think we would get this far into it. It was not meant to be a topic like this. But it was fun. And I think that's good enough. Anyway. Okay, so I'm really gonna try this. Another person said, do the devs even watch the Kappa Council on Twitch? They said, do they watch? Do they not watch? You know, I don't. Okay, I made, like, the short answer was yes. I mean, it's not like I send them a USB stick with the episodes on it, but you know, they're in Europe, they're in Belgium, most of them, and the season 3 of Kappa Council has been happening at basically these hours, which means they're sleeping. So. Not really. They don't really watch much of the live show right now, but then I put it on YouTube, and my assumption is they watch. I've had comments. I even had GM, one of the, you know, founders of Abrakam and the game, you know, basically right after a live show at once been like, you know, messaging me like, where's the link to this episode? Because Monday, oh yeah, we did it on Sunday, so it was season 2, I think, but like, he watched it on a Sunday when it was better time. We did it on Sundays usually, and he was like, because tomorrow morning when we go to the office, I'm gonna ask everyone to watch the episode because the things you talked about was so good. Like you know, I've had that comment from one of the bosses at Abrakam, and that's just really encouraging and nice. That, you know, that tells me they're watching, even, you know, depending on when and how we do it. And for example, Atmas, who's the one of the community managers, he's in the United States. He already commented in Twitch during part of this episode, and, you know, obviously whether he's here now or not, don't know. But yeah, I think they do watch it, and, you know, again, it's not about do they watch the episode and then do as you say. I don't know. You know, this is all feedback and discussion, and a lot of the time we will have different ideas and different opinions on the episodes. And it's, you know, what I think the podcast here does well is that we at least get a lot of the things that happen in the community, opinions and such, in one place where, you know, if they watch it, they'll you know, they get a very congested feel of what do people think about the game and balance and things like that, or just how they do things.
I like to think that Abrakam is always with us and always watching and always listening.
So spiritual. Yeah, still no Stream Faeria code. I can't wait for that. It should be Meta Faeria. I think it should be Metagamingtv, but. I would love that, just like Crip got a code. We need a code. That would be hilarious. Alright, yeah, I just wanted to answer that comment. I thought it was a good question, good comment, like, but yeah. I think most games and game developers, like, if there's any type of podcasts happening within their game, they're probably, like super excited and happy that there's people making content like this for their game. Like I think that's like an honor as a developer to have somebody make stuff like this, and they probably gladly watch it. I think they're very excited to hear what people think.
Yeah, I mean, they have a feedback channel in the Discord just so that they can have feedback, and it'd be really weird if they didn't watch it, but like I've seen some of the devs in the chat before, so yeah, I'm pretty certain they watch it.
Yeah. And if they don't, then why are we even here? And yeah, it is season 3 actually. So we actually did which is weird. I don't know if podcast does that. I've never done it before, but I just know that we did Kappa Council season 1. It wasn't called season 1. We just did Kappa Council back when the game was on Kickstarter and people were playing the prototype of the game in a web browser. It was very different. It was 2013, way back. We did like 9 or 11 or something episodes weekly during that time, and then we the game went into closed development, and we also kind of stopped. And I say we, I don't think anyone here was back then. It was just me. But we were a group and we did that. We even had the devs on some of the shows back then, actually. But obviously, because it was on Kickstarter, it was interesting to talk about certain things. And then, so when the game came out in early access, I was like, I reached out to some of the old guys that were on there. I'm like, Kappa Council Season 2? Hype! And that's why we called it Season 2. It's kind of like, well, let's just call it Season 2 and not be like Episode 12, so we called it Season 2, and then I think it was kind of Scorch's idea that when we hit release, and I was thinking about it too, we got closer to release, we're like, well, shouldn't release be Season 3 then, and we kind of went with that. So I'm thinking maybe expansion is Season 4, so we get this rolling, like we're gonna be like Game of Thrones. Just wait until characters die and shit.
Oh god. New Race to God challenge. Let's go, Dozer.
Yeah, we really do need to close this episode. I think Saladin brought up an interesting topic that we've talked about so many times, throughout, like what is the current status of Faeria? How's it doing? Now it's post-launch. Are the devs happy? Is it reaching their expectations and things like that? And I'm just gonna pick up my red phone here, call GM, and be like, hey GM, could you give us the numbers? Yeah, I mean, to begin this topic then, which will be the last topic, trying to wrap this up. How's Faeria doing? It's been out for, is it 2 months now? Jesus, I might be just wrong. Somebody tell me.
Yeah, 2 months.
Thank you. Okay, so 2 months.
It was the first week of March. It went to full release.
Okay, so
sounds about right.
Yeah, we obviously have no freaking clue what Abrakam expected, and will we ever? Like I mean, it's not like they, as a company, will go out and tell us. I think the closest thing we'll ever know officially is whether they're gonna is if they say they're happy, and I bet money they will always say they're happy. You'll never hear a company go like, "No, we're really worried." like that will just never happen. But I'm so excited. Like I was worried, not worried, but I was wondering when the game came out launched whether how many players would we have looking at Steam charts, a month or 2 or 3 later after launch? Will we be down to early access numbers, which were, a couple of hundreds, or will it, stay up in the regions that we hit, or like where will it average out? And I'm so stoked that we're on a Tuesday night, it's 5 in the morning in Europe, right? It's about to be 5 in the morning in Europe. No European with a family, kids, job, or school, or anything, any type of responsibility is awake playing the fucking game right now. And this game is actually much more played in Europe than it is in other regions, because we see this by the player base numbers. And what time is it in North America? North Americans?
11.
Yeah, so isn't responsible people should be going to bed, right? like something like that.
Yep,
Yeah.
that'd be nice.
And about now we have about like 11 between 11 and 12 between 11 to 1200 people playing the game, which I think is amazing. And it's even out a lot more. Like it used to be like 1,000 people playing in Europe prime time, 500 people playing in North American time, and now it's like in the 24-hour peak it was 1650, and it's 11:31, 38 minutes ago. So you know the flux is less. Like it changes less.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we've hit a pretty consistent. I don't want to say plateau because I think it can continue to rise, but we've hit kind of a consistent level of usually around 17, 18, 1900 players most of the day, it seems, which I think is really nice. It's just the what do they do as the next step. One thing that I'm really interested in,
quickly,
the adventure
on Sunday peak I think was 1929 players on Sunday at 4 p.m. Central European time. So just want to say.
One thing that's interesting to me is that as part of the adventure pouch, you can get the entry in to win the Alienware laptop, and I haven't seen anything from Alienware as some form of promotion, advertising, which we saw. There was a giveaway during the early access, which was with like Alienware, TSM, something else, I think. And there was a bunch of stuff from those companies on Twitter just pushing the advertisement. I think on Facebook as well, type of like sharing that sort of stuff around. But I haven't seen anything coming back the other way from Alienware this time, even though the laptop is part of the adventure pouch kind of advertising marketing stuff.
The Alienware relationship between Abrakam and Alienware is one. I do wonder how they're working together. I know the reason why it's Alienware. Reason. It just so happens to be that one of the PR guys who works at Abrakam used to work for Alienware. Yeah. So there's the connection.
That's how I got my code into early access, was Alienware giveaway, and it was again pushed kind of on both sides. It was giving away keys at that point, but it's just kind of odd.
So they're very close friends. Like he's still like best friends with the guys running. I think it's Alienware Europe actually, which is the guys he worked at like with, and he's very close with. And I found this out because I worked with Alienware at DreamHack with Abrakam when I was there. So and they seem to have a really good relationship, and I don't think this is hurting. If anything, they're probably getting some really good deal on their partnership. You know, I actually think, you know, with the friendship they have, or you know, between these two people and these individuals, I think they're getting some really good benefits. But yeah, where's the Alienware promotion? Maybe I'm just not seeing it, but it feels like something that, you know, you would have hoped that they do. I'm thinking that, you know, in the lack of promotion from Alienware, that they probably, what's it called? Like, they probably have a, you know, I think the Alienware laptop thing is more to attract people to the expansion than, you know, like Alienware promoting Faeria, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not sure if it's like a partnership where Alienware is supposed to go out and promote Faeria on their platforms. But who knows? Like, I also think that maybe they're just waiting to do some of that towards the end of it.
Yeah, and maybe once it's... because it only lasts until next week, May 9th, I think it is, to do the early order, like the pre-order stuff for the expansion, and actually get in on the draw for the laptop. So, but it does say Alienware Adventure Pouch Package, so it's not just the laptop; it is other stuff as well. So who knows what's included in that? But it's just
it's more than a laptop.
To me that yeah. At least that's what it says, but yeah, it just seemed odd to me that there wasn't any kind of advertising or marketing coming back the other way of, hey, check this out, and you can win an Alienware prize pack or laptop or whatever. But it'll be interesting to see what they kind of ramp up into as the expansion gets closer and closer. Because Lou made a good point there of saying that after going down, like, because we saw a huge spike after release. I think it hit almost like 33,000, like 3,500 or something like that, like ridiculous, right away, and then it dropped off.
You didn't
to
say
this
33,000,
Well,
right?
That
Oh,
was
sorry,
because of
3,000. Yeah.
that was because of Total Biscuit as well. Like Total Biscuit
Yeah.
started playing right at the time of release, and so I think a lot of his community started playing, and then that slowly dwindled down as some got bored, and then some stuck to it.
I
and now
gotta
we're at a
say, I
plateau.
think we're where we are right now. I hate going, because I don't think it's correct to say that, oh, Total Biscuit, was the reason for success of Faeria, but I think he actually had quite an amazing impact on the player base. Like, I think Total Biscuit drove a lot of attention to the game and managed to get a lot of people that probably wouldn't have heard of Faeria interested.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, that's how we heard about it.
Yeah.
So
And
I was
that's a big thing too, right? Is there are a lot of new players come in and they're just awestruck by the game right away. Again, like you guys were saying, of how you took to it so quickly, and it's just getting it out there and for more and more people to see it. And as much as some of those bigger names of either streamers or YouTube personalities sometimes can encourage that, even just the consistency of the players that already exist, just streaming the game on a more consistent basis, just having people online all the time, streaming it for people to go in and watch, is something that really helps the community build.
Yeah. Regarding promoting, like some people are saying you gotta spend money to make money, which it's one of those statements that nobody in the marketing business says. They haven't done much to get new players, in my opinion. Well, that's a very subjective thing. What else do we have? I don't think the current approach to marketing and perception is going to be ultimately productive for the long-term health of the game. Well, whatever the current marketing is, because we obviously don't have full, like, marketing is kind of tricky, right? They don't want to market the game to us who already play the game. Let's just say that. Like, marketing is tricky. They want to market the game to people they think might be interested, but it would be a waste of money if they did advertisement, geared toward people who already play the game. Like, that's a waste of money. But even so, I've seen marketing of Faeria, and it's something we talked about on an earlier episode, which I said, we talked about whether is it good or bad they pay streamers, or YouTubers to promote the game, or how should they spend the money. And I said Facebook, and I've actually seen advertisement for the game on Facebook. To my surprise, I actually didn't even realize it was advertisement for it. I was like, oh, a post on a fair. Like, wait, sponsored? Like, huh? Like, I was like, what? It positively surprised me. And I thought it was, it looked good. It sounded good. It seemed like I liked it. The comments were pretty good on the thing, except one troll that went like a Hearthstone clone, and he got so much flack from me and others. No, yeah, I really think Facebook advertisement is really good because you can really aim it towards a certain crowd, and I've seen that happen. We just have no idea how much they're accelerating that and pushing towards that. I think they're I don't know whether they do Google ads and stuff, but I know one of the gaming news websites I go to, I scroll that, and I actually thought about Faeria when I did it, because I was like, at the top there was one game, in the middle was another game, and at the bottom of the article there was a third game, right? And it's those places, because those ads on that site I actually like, and they are nice, and I look at them, and I will consider them, and things like that. So I think more strategic marketing on towards where the gaming crowd is something that maybe Faeria needs, but I'm not the expert to say when, how much, where, and it's so easy. People go like, more marketing, they need market the game, and that will get more people to play the game, and it's like, yeah, like, again, I just don't know what's right or wrong, and hey, that's one of the tricks in the business, right? Like who does marketing better than the other, and who gets their game out there, and who gets the players, right? Like, it's a freaking tough business.
And it's not like they're not aware of it. It's not like they're gonna watch this or read the comments and go like, oh my god, guys, we forgot to put marketing out there. We forgot our ads. Like, that's what we're doing wrong. Like they obviously know about it, and like you said, there's no way of knowing. Maybe they're waiting on Android release. Maybe they're waiting on iPad release. Maybe they're already doing it and we're just not seeing it. There's just so many behind the scenes things when it comes
And it
to
is
marketing.
measurable. Like they're definitely like they're 100% like so the Facebook ads. They know exactly how many people click those things, and they see how many new accounts are being made in the game and stuff like that. Like they compare numbers. Like you can measure this not to an exact, precise thing, but enough so that you'll know was this ad good or not. Yeah, like there's a lot of tools and tricks you can do in advertisement to kind of know how good a certain ad is doing. And yeah, again, we don't know what numbers they're happy with. Like if 100, well, let's say, okay, so if 1,000 people see an ad and they get, I don't know, 50 new players from that, is that good or bad? We don't know. It depends on how much they paid for it and how much those 50 then spend it with the game. And only Abrakam can obviously know how good or bad that is.
Yep.
But yeah, well, it was very well said, Shadee. It was that was one of the best comments. Like, oh yeah, right. Like they're like, oh shit, we forgot to market the game. Damn, we should have done that. Why didn't we? Oh man, oh
Whoops.
crap, whoops. Like, oh, hilarious. No.
Classic Abrakam.
But yeah, alright. It's at the end of the show. Everyone's tired and fatigued now, so we will end it. But yeah, nobody wants to add anything, right? Say no.
No, I think that's it.
Can I smack talk Lou some more? Is that fine?
How about we?
He's still here, so give it to him.
How about we do a special?
Can we do just a Kappa Council on Smack Talk with Lou? Like tomorrow, we'll just get on for like 4 hours. And I can just talk a bunch of shit about Lou.
Kappa
In his head.
Council episode 6.5 DeathDozer's Smack Talk.
Wait, we need Noah as well. We need
Yeah.
Torment, Noah, we need DeathDozer.
Where's Thorman?
Let's get Lou in. We need all of the best memesters
Oh,
and
Jesus Christ.
DMers in the game.
Yes.
I think instead of a Faeria match, we should just have a boxing match. I think I can box Lou out. I think that could happen.
I don't think anybody suggested that people can't perceive what the current effect of their marketing is, but I end there because I'm reading off Twitch, and sure, like perception is definitely huge when it comes to these type of things, and I see this in many other games as well. People have their perception of how the marketing is, but like I said, like if because I worked in marketing, and if you could if we could dream and say that you give somebody who works with marketing and decides how to do marketing, if he had ultimate godlike powers, he would never market a product to somebody who already owns it. Would never happen. And to be honest, with today's tools like Facebook advertisement and Google Ads, it's actually pretty easy. Not like perfect, but you can actually to some extent do that. Like, cause Google knows so much about your, unless you're one of those who uses like incognito mode and VPNs and stuff, and hiding all your information from Google. Google knows very much about your surfing habits. Are you using Chrome as a browser, eh? Google knows a lot. So you can, if they're like, oh, these guys have already done all these Faeria related things and stuff, they might not be the target audience for advertising your game. If you're already liking the Facebook group of Faeria, maybe you should not see the advert of it. Right? Pretty easy. Yep. So you might not see the advertisement, but other people might be like, man, this is the 5th time I see this Faeria advert. Like, it could be happening for others. Just saying. It's very interesting. Love marketing. We can do a whole episode about that. Dang it, Kappa. Why? I use incognito all the time.
Yeah, I often hear people say that like they use incognito so Google doesn't track them. It's like no, Google still tracks you if you use incognito.
I do know
using their browser.
I do know that. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that. I do not like it. If you're using Chrome,
they're legally obliged to make a way where you can be incognito. It's just you have to go through the steps of disabling their tracking.
Yeah. I think incognito is something different, though, isn't it? It doesn't do. Yeah, let's not even get into that.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry I mentioned that.
Loved having you all here, as always. Thank you so freaking much, Scorch, Shadee, maybe, Kappu, and Dozer.
Yeah, thanks
Okay.
for the invite.
Yeah.
This was a good session, I think.
This was a good one, yeah.
I'm gonna sleep so well. All right.
It was okay.
It was okay. Can't wait for Monthly Cup. Good luck, Dozer.
Thank you. Thank you.
All you need to do is defeat Lou, and the rest
Yeah,
will be
that's it.
easy.
I'll be in his
Yeah.
nightmares. Definitely tonight.
All right. So, all right. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good night. Take care, and bye-bye.
Good night, guys.